this up here. Get this going. Okay, folks. So got everybody getting ready. Want to welcome everybody. Just a reminder to basically follow the rules. I've got them listed down below there, scrolling across. We want to keep it clean and entertaining for everybody, so let's be courteous. And I'm going to bring on our guests tonight. So I have Adam, and looks like I have temporarily lost Mike, so he'll be back in a minute, but there he is. All right, so here they come. We got Adam with GAEFT. I hope I got that right. He's back there laughing at me. And Minnesota Mike's MN. Oh, I'm sorry, GAEFT LLC. Got to get the whole thing in there. And then Mike from MN Mike Outdoors, and he is known as Minnesota Mike. So here we go. There we go. We got everybody. What's going on, guys? Good to see you. And we got.
I can't see anything on my screen right now.
Well, if you're watching the actual live stream, it doesn't show up for a few minutes, but I am seeing you on the live stream.
Yeah, it's like all digitized on my end, so don't know what that is all about.
Oh, that's bizarre.
You know, let me come out. I'm gonna go out and try to come back in and see if I can fix that.
Okay. What about you, Mike? Are you?
I'll be right back.
Can't hear you, Mike. I don't know if your mic's muted or. Having technical difficulties. Oh, there it is. Yes, you are muted, Mike. Well, I wonder what's going on here. Sorry, folks. Technical difficulties a little bit, but that's what happens. So one of the main idea of tonight's topic is talking about the modifications that you do to your gear that you use when you go out camping. And I've gotten to witness some of the modifications that both Mike and Adam have made firsthand. If you actually saw my video that I did for the meetup that we did over in Missouri, then you got to see what was happening with a lot of that stuff. Okay, let's see if he's. Yeah, now we got no video for him. Wow, this is. I apologize, folks.
Yeah, I still got the black screen.
Still got the black screen. Wow. Oh, don't do this to me. Wow, it is definitely. Well, I was able to turn Mike's microphone on. Let's see when he comes back.
Technology, you gotta love it.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, I was talking about how, the modifications that we make when we are doing things with our camping gear, the gear that we take out, we suddenly decide that the gear that we have is just not cutting what we need, and we want to make it more conducive to our environment. And you actually demonstrated a unique modification. So And I believe you have an example of it there. You want to kind of tell about it?
Yeah. So, one of the things, are you talking about my trekking pole part, or are you talking about the Alpha tent?
The Alpha tent.
Okay. Yeah. So I got the actual idea from Mike. He had seen online somewhere that you can take a poncho and then use tent poles, and you have to cut them a certain length depending on how big the poncho is. And then you can make a small tent out of just your regular poncho. So I'll grab part of it here. So I don't know, can you see me yet?
Oh yeah, I can see you on screen.
Yeah, because I can't see anything. So what I did here is, for the modification part of it, is I printed these little pegs right here, and they're printed out of a material called TPU, which is a rubber filament out of a 3D printer. And so what you do is you extend all your poles. And I got the poles off Amazon. Mike kind of gave me the link for where they were at. So it's more credit to Mike than it is to me. But so you got these long poles. I got the tips on the end. I have a swivel in the, not quite the center. But I'm going to lay this down on the ground here. And this is my military issued poncho. I got this when I joined in 1997. So I've had this thing for a number of years.
Yeah.
But so what you'll do is you'll take the grommets and you'll just slide the grommets over the 3D printed end. And the 3D printed parts are basically just to hold it into place so that they don't fall out and slip.
Okay, have we got you, Mike?
I think so. Can you hear me?
I can hear you and see you. So Adam's showing his setup there.
I heard him say all the credit goes to Mike.
It does.
Adam and I tag team on a lot of things. We've been friends for a long time, and we kind of finish each other's thoughts, I think.
So here you can see that I have the cross member about in the center, and it just makes a nice little tent. So when you drop it down on the ground, you have a shelter to sleep in. So
very nice.
So that's one of the modifications. On our camping trip down to Missouri, I spent one night in this. The night it rained, of course, and I stayed dry the entire night. So
yeah, well, I actually wondered how you were able to stay up above, because you think about it, if you're on a slope, it could run down through your tent. If you're on flat ground, it could possibly pool, you know.
Yeah. So generally, one of the things I learned in the military was when you put your tent down, you dig a trench around your tent.
Right.
And then you have like a lead line that comes off on the downslope. So when it does rain, the water will go down into your trench and it will flow down and away from your tent. So
okay,
that's one of the things that you want to consider when sleeping under just the tent.
Yeah.
So
So I had a question here coming from Colin at Kincaid Outdoors. He wanted to know how much it costs to print those out, minus the cost of the printer itself?
So I think with the filament, it was, I think for the set of 4 was like 85 cents. So it wasn't a lot. So yeah, you get a 2-pound roll of filament, will cost you, depending on the material, anywhere from 15 to, $25 on average. And you can print a lot of stuff off of that. So
Yeah. Well, so they wanted to know, could you use just the poles with the poncho, or
yeah,
I mean, you printed them for a reason, but
yeah. So the problem with just the poles is it's going to go through your grommets. So one other way to do it is to go to the hardware store and just buy yourself some wire nuts. And you can either glue or tape them onto the end. You just need something that's going to stop the pole from going through the grommet. So you could just use a bunch of duct tape or electrical tape. But this is also a cheap and easy way to do it too. I just like the look of the 3D print, and since I have several 3D printers, I figured I'd 3D print it. So
yeah, definitely. And so on that poncho, it already had the grommets on it, and
yep.
so then there's somebody had their own poncho that's say didn't have the grommets in it. You could run to Walmart and get the little grommet kits and put them in themselves. But there's probably any number of way to do that. So
yeah, you can. Most ponchos are going to have the grommets just because that's what they're designed for. You're not going to get away with like an emergency poncho. The cheap plastic ones that you buy at Walmart. Those will not have the grommets, and those will tear. So you want to find yourself a good quality poncho that's going to have the grommets.
Right.
And I think Mike was saying he bought his off of Amazon or Walmart.com. And his grommets were a little bit smaller, so I had to 3D printed him a set first. And then when he made mine, my grommets were bigger than his. So then I 3D printed the spear looking type ones, and just so it will fit all different size of grommets. So
right. So we got Mike back in here with us. Let's see. So
I went over to the other. I thought I was supposed to be in the other chat or other live stream, so I can't see anything but a black screen. This is just new to me. I'm sorry.
Well, it's not supposed to be like that. I don't know why it's doing
Well,
it.
I'll sit tight and just not enjoy myself.
Well,
yeah, I was listening to what Adam was saying. The other thing you can do is, I got some little S-beaners, that's tiny S-beaners from Night Eyes, and hooked them in my grommets, and they had a smaller hole so the end of my pole would stick in there. That's one idea. And another idea is I took bank line, which is a kind of string if you don't know what that is, and I tied a small loop that would fit tight around my poles. And and I heard Adam say there's a few ways to doing it, so
I'm
it
sure
puts a lot of torsion or whatever on those tent poles, and really has to stretch out that poncho. So it's got to be some kind of quality. Mine is not a military poncho. Mine is like a $25 one off of eBay.
Yeah.
It's because I wanted one that was really lightweight that I would take with me.
How did
rather
it
than
hold
the
up
big
to
bulky one?
How did it hold up to that tension of the?
Oh, just fine. Yeah. It's made of like a lightweight tarp material.
Right.
You could also do this with a 5x7 tarp, and a lot of people have a 5x7 tarp, and that's what a poncho is, but a poncho has a hood on it. So you could try this with a lot of things, but it has to have some stretchy give to it. A blue tarp won't work, I don't think.
So Matt here from Ozarks Woodsman Stories and More has asked the question, do the poles themselves, do they fold up?
Yeah, didn't Adam show you how they unfold?
Just the poles themselves.
Yeah, they're about 11 inches long, so they'll fold up into a small compact size.
So you can actually take the poles apart?
Need about a foot long, and
oh wow,
then you've got whatever your pole is.
I thought you ordered them and they were just all one piece. That's pretty unique.
No, they're just like the poles for any kind of dome tent.
Okay.
Awesome. And you look on Amazon and you'll find some we got the shortest ones just so it'd be more compact, but you can get ones that are 11, 12, 13, 16 inches long, and they might be 25 feet long or something. You can look on Amazon and find a lot of different options.
Yeah, well, that certainly demonstrates the ease of getting some of the items that you could get for this particular modification. We'll call it a make your own gear thing. MYOG.
Yeah, and that M could stand for modify also.
Yeah, modify.
Yeah, so you could get something and you don't have to make it from scratch per se.
Right.
You might just be modifying things, finding two elements and put them together.
Right. And I've done some little mods myself, but nothing to the scale of what you guys have done. Even Mike. I saw how you had that. Basically, you had some, I guess, for lack of a better term, an adapter, those corner pieces, and then you put the logs in it. You want to kind of elaborate on that for your tent from the meetup?
Yeah, I made a tent and it had to have a cross pole and then two legs. And I was probably complaining or belly aching or whining or something about how I was trying to get it to go. And this is another tag team thing. Adam would say, just give me the diameter you want and I can print you two 90-degree corners. And so those were 3D printed from a hard, strong, durable polymer. And or not polymer, it's whatever. Adam can tell you if it's whatever it is, but the filament is the word I was thinking of. That filament, and Adam has a son that does a lot of 3D printing too. And I went over to their house and Adam wasn't there. And so his son took over and took the measurements and printed those out. And he did it wrong because he printed the inside diameter wasn't quite right, But so I had some pipes, white pipes from like a garage tent that I just kind of have kept the pipes from. And that's what I was going to use. But I haven't messed with it for a year or two. So I had the wrong size for the pipes for those corners. But in the field, you can get poles, shave them down to fit inside there. And that's what we did on that last camp out.
Yeah, and it looked every bit as sturdy as if, you had store-bought, if not sturdier, actually.
It was very, very strong. Yeah.
Yeah. And
so they go in there about, I don't know, it's 3.5 or 4 inches. They go in. So it's really strong. And I shaved them down pretty tight to fit in. And the wooden poles. And
right.
Somebody can look at the video, and there's no video of me cutting down any trees or doing any modification to that. But you can see how strong and sturdy and straight that thing stands. But and those things are use them forever, I guess.
Right.
And full disclosure, I cut down one tree and trimmed one tree, but that place where we were was thick as thieves with overgrowth and everything, and so I didn't
Right.
feel that bad about it. I was going to look around for something dead, but when I took one extra that was growing right next to something, and then I trimmed one tree, and that I made all my stakes and poles and everything that I did out of those two small
Right.
things. And
And
I don't advocate cutting down trees, but on my own land, I have tons of things that I could cut down. But when we were out there, that place was really, really overgrown,
right.
unmanaged. So I don't think I heard anything, and I'd be real
Now, the
conscientious
thing that
about.
I really liked about that modification was the fact that, you just had those corner pieces, so, it taking up room in your vehicle to get there, it was probably very minimal and
Not much to
lightweight.
carry, yeah. If
Yeah.
you can obtain those poles in the field, that's great. That tent is also designed so that you could run a ridge line between two trees and slide it through,
Right.
and it would be a little bit saggier. But I have plans to do that pole modification, like for that alpha tent, to put in the ceiling of that baker's tent, so that it will spring that up and give it some loft inside.
So, I got to ask, what inspired you guys to start making these modifications? You know, was it just out of necessity, or just being creative and inventive?
We're just
My
that
part of
kind
it
of
was I had a
guys.
3D printer. So
Well, before
I was like,
the
what
3D
can
printer,
what can I do that I don't have to go out and buy, that I can just make, So like a lot of the guideline and the tensioners and stuff like that I use for camping are 3D printed. It takes very little time, very little filament. Like here's one right here that I printed out today. I don't know, it took like 30 minutes to print two of them. I printed one in black and one in white. But other type of cordage stuff, it was just, I had a 3D printer. I have access to it. There's quite a few different websites that you can go online and just people have made stuff, and you type in whatever you're looking for, and if somebody's made it already, you download it and you print it.
Right.
And if
So those were,
if you can't find it, you try to make it.
so what you just held up there, that was a tensioner, line tensioner?
Yeah, just a rope tensioner. Not the black one shows up better, the white one, but
those are on that baker's tent too that Adam printed. That they're the ones that have two different size rings. Do you have a sample of that, Adam?
I don't have those with me. They're on my tent outside.
I'm completely flying blind. I can't see anything but a plain black screen here. So
Yeah, I appreciate you guys bearing with me through this, because you guys are perfectly centered on screen and everything, so it's all looking good. So.
Well, I want to go back a second and say, before there was a 3D printer involved, Adam and I just make stuff, and that's not everybody's bent. And I mean, Adam and I both have made stoves. He's got a trailer that he's made a couple of stoves and modified a couple of things, and I've made a couple of hot tent stoves. And some people are scared to death to make a stove and put a stovepipe on it because they're afraid they're going to burn something down, or the galvanized pipe's going to kill them or something, And Adam and I both are a little bit fearless. We made a rocket stove about 10 years ago, and just out in the barn, and just put it together, and out of a bunch of scrap parts and things, and we ran it for a while and threw it behind the barn, and we'll mess with it some other day or something, I guess. But Adam and I have done a lot of different things, and I would just say, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And so if you want to try something, be adventurous and try it.
So, what would you guys say the simplest tent modification or any, campsite modification that you can think of that people could do without special tools like the 3D printer?
Oh boy.
I know it's a depth
Well,
question, but I mean, like I'll give an
are you talking making your own, or going out and buying something and then using it for a different purpose?
Well, like I've got a little example of something that I came up with that, it was kind of a necessity. When I went out and would go camping, I have one of those tents that you've got the little sleeve that you slide your tent poles through for the top of it, and it raises the rain fly up off the top of the screen and gives it probably about 2 inches. And those sleeves where you run your poles through are about 2 inches tall, but your poles, maybe half inch, at its thickest point. And one of the things I ran into is where a lot of bugs were crawling up in there and making it their home. And I certainly didn't want to, when I got through with the camp, take those bugs home with me. So what I came up with is, once you put your pole in there, I took one of these little binder clips and just clipped it right on top, right on the edge of the opening, and no more bugs. So
That's simpler than any simple thing I've ever done, Dan.
well, I got a simple mind, so I can't help it.
Oh, I'm just playing. The everybody that goes out camping runs into some problem, and you have to find a way to solve that. If I were you and that binder clip came in handy, I would make sure that was in my basic kit all the time, to have one or two of those. And a binder clip can be used to clip two pieces of tarp together, or hang up your dirty socks to dry inside, or wet socks to dry inside. Or two or three binder clips are so handy.
Oh, I've even got some right here behind me. If I can pull this up without tearing down my backing here. These things here are excellent in the field. Yeah, I get these. These are those little clamps. They're spring loaded. They're very strong. You can buy them in various sizes. People use them in their shops to clamp a board to the table while they're cutting. But I mean, this could be something that you could clamp to a pole. I actually clamp one of these to the poles that hold up my tarp, and then I use it to hang my collapsible trash bin from. So it gives me a point of something to hook it on, and instead of setting it on the ground and the wind blowing it over all the time. So these are certainly an awesome thing to have. I mean, you could clamp a tablecloth down to a picnic table, so whatever. But what do you guys got that simple, cheap, anybody can do it?
Well, those S-beaners are really good for also tension tighteners. Just weaving the rope back and forth, making prusik knots out of regular cordage. Mike showed me that one. on how to make the prusik knot for my ridge line so that I didn't have to try to tie it off on all different ends. You know, so
And you can learn that on Ozark's Great Adventures.
Yeah,
You
so
know.
these little clamp things that I get them usually whenever I go to Harbor Freight. They're like I catch them when they're like $1 for 4 of them. So
Dan, since I'm watching YouTube in Braille, is that like those clamps that were on that tool I gave you to use for your slingshot?
yes,
Okay.
very much so.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
those
but
come in different sizes. Yeah.
These are just the plastic ones, But man, they're very durable. The springs in them are good. They really hold.
Yeah, and out in the field like that, you're not overdoing it on anything about them anyway.
Right.
You're not really taxing their full strength. How many people are in the chat? How many people are watching?
So, right now, I believe I'm seeing about 12. Randy had a good question there. He didn't get to see how you actually put the head of the pole into the grommet. So, you were setting it up there in the background. So with that tip, how did it connect into the grommet?
So it's just the grommet's right there. And the 3D printed part just goes through the grommet and holds it in place like that. So it's just friction. It doesn't clip onto it or anything like that. It's just friction on there so that it.
It's the tension that holds it in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once the poncho is, the poles are pushing up on the poncho, the tension keeps the grommet from falling off the end of the grommet.
And it won't. Yeah, they won't come off. Yep.
And Adam, did you show where they crisscross in the middle?
Yep. Yes, I did.
Yeah. So Adam found that swivel part, but I don't have mine installed on mine yet because you have to drill it out a little bit because it's a little bit smaller diameter than the pole is. I just have mine wrapped with a piece of shot cord or paracord or shot cord, and it slides around so that you can move that crisscross up a little bit to give you more headroom, or put it right in the middle if you wanted it. If you're going to put your backpack under that, which is probably my intention. I don't know that I'll ever sleep under that thing, but unless it was like an emergency situation.
Oh, come on, Mike.
Well, it's hard to get it to seal around my cot.
I think until I lose a few pounds, I could probably hold the poncho up with my belly.
You can keep it aloft.
But so Randy also had a good question there about that. With the poncho, the hole for the head is pretty much in the center of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just take a piece of string and you can tie that off around the neck, and then you can seal it up just by wrapping it. It seals up pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you lay it flat over the hole so the hood goes over the hole. Unless it's like super windy or anything like that, the rain's not going to come in. Like that, it stormed that one night. I didn't get wet at all underneath there. My sleeping bag was dry. I was dry, so nothing bad happened. So it works.
Yeah, I'm still having a problem, just basically understanding how you could. I guess if you could, even if you felt like you were potentially in a low, you could put some pine boughs down or something like that to get your bed up above the surface of the leaves. But if you got that trench around it, it probably does the job perfectly. So
unless there's a deluge of rain, a lot of times the ground is so dry or dry enough that it just absorbs it.
Yeah.
In my video, I've got Adam crawling out from under that in the morning, and you can see the dry rectangle on the ground, and everything around it was wet, but the ground was thirsty enough probably to absorb that water, and that's not always going to be the case. And also, you want to pick a higher spot than you don't want to put any shelter down on a low spot. That's almost like Boy Scouts 101, I suppose.
Yeah, I one time when I went camping, I had set up my tent and it was on the flattest of ground. It wasn't bold or by any means, but I would say probably about 40 yards off into the woods, it had a little bit of an upslope there. So a downpour came and I've got video of basically a river running right underneath my tent and right through the center of my camp.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, the the ground is sandy. So, I mean, as soon as it quit raining within, you know, 10, 15 minutes, everything was just almost dry. So,
And in campgrounds, like if you're in a city campground or a county campground or whatever, state, whatever, then a lot of times the pad where a tent goes is really well worn and it's hard, packed down, and you think that's the only place to put a tent. And sometimes they actually hold water like a jug.
huh.
What's it? What happened?
Okay. So, having little technicals here again. So let's see what's going on.
I tried to log in with my phone to see if I could get the video, and it started. I could see all of you guys on there, and then it went to a black screen again. So
There we go. Yeah, because when I selected the other one from your phone, it went to black screen again.
yeah.
Again, audience, I apologize for the technical difficulties. This is the first time this has ever happened with that, but we're trying to make do here as best we can. And,
I'm using my iPhone and not a computer. Maybe that's unconventional. I don't know.
oh no, because I've had Randy on here, and we all know he uses his phone.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think I've had 210 up here a couple times, and he was on his phone.
Well, um, another thing I want to mention is I could mention several people that have a video of those alpha tents, and some of them I wouldn't necessarily want to endorse, whatever, but um, Grandfather Outdoors has a bunch of videos on. He doesn't use great big tarps. He uses small tarps, and he has videos on those alpha tents too. And so I would encourage you to take a peek at his. And he seems to be a real wholesome guy to pay a little bit of attention to. And his videos are they're not the most exciting things and entertaining things, but boy, he's got some really good tarp setups. And I'm not trying to give him a left-handed compliment or something, but he really does a great job on showing those tarp setups. And he has I just this last week I've watched I think 3 different ones that he used, either a really small tarp or a poncho, and you'll see the way he does it too.
So with these mods that you make, and I'm sure you do test them when you make them. As you said, one of those mods that you had made, the poles didn't fit in it right. But is there any concerns like when you make these mods about safety of them being durable enough, or do you I imagine you probably thoroughly test them before you go out for strength, but
Yeah, I'm not gonna make anything that I'm gonna try to hold myself on. But I mean, you're taking plastic, you're heating it up, and then you're putting it down in layers, and it's turning back into hard plastic again.
yeah,
So I'm not concerned with the durability of stuff that I make. I do bend it and see if I can snap it and break it. Some of the smaller, thinner things like that. But generally, most of the stuff that you print is still going to have flexibility. It's still going to have durability, so you don't really have to worry about it. I'm not making carabiners to go climbing, that's for sure.
yeah,
But like all the smaller stuff, it's impact resistant. Some of it, depending on the material that you use, can hold up well in hot weather and cold weather. It can get brittle if it's left outside over time, and heated up and cooled down and heated up. So those are kind of things you have to take into consideration. But a lot of different things that mods that you can do for it that you don't have to worry about them breaking, or if they do, you just reprint it. It doesn't take up much space in your backpack. It doesn't weigh a lot. So really, it's not an issue of taking it out in the field and trying it and hoping it doesn't break. I have done that this last camping trip. Some of the stuff that I used on it, I had printed it like the night before we left. And so the first time I used it was when we were out there. But yeah, I'm not concerned about it breaking. I mean, it's fairly tough, flexible, depending on the material again that you use. And you can use stuff that's really, really strong. It costs more. But as far as the smaller stuff, the guideline, the ridgeline stuff, you don't have to worry about that breaking. So,
And the worst case scenario is you do it a different way. You fix it in the field, and that's where necessity is the mother of invention, and you might find a new way or a better way because of that. But none of it is weight supporting or life threatening, anything like even that. I mean, the tarp shelter, if that pole broke under that poncho shelter, then what's the worst case scenario? You have it laying on your face, and rather than it being lofted up
run a ridge line and turn it into a regular A-frame tent after that.
Right.
So.
Oh yeah.
Another thing, though,
certainly a good idea.
Another thing that Adam printed, he gave as a gift to 210 Outdoors, I think, when we left, right, Adam?
Yeah, for the trekking poles. Is that the thing you're talking about?
Yeah. Did you already talk about that?
Things here. I haven't yet. No.
Oh, there you go.
Does 210 have his? Is he in the?
He's got it
in the room.
So this piece right here just goes on top of the trekking pole, upside down, and so that you can either use it right in the middle. Oh, okay.
Your video's frozen there for a minute. It's like it's lagging. There must be something major going on in the world, because usually whenever something major goes on, everybody's live stream has lagging.
Is mine lagging, or is it just Adam?
It's just Adam at the moment. Okay, I think think he's back now. Yeah.
All right. So I don't know. So this piece right here I printed out and modified the original file. It was kind of shorter. It was smaller. It didn't fit my pole, so I had to resize it, make it bigger. But it just fits on your trekking poles. I think I got some here. Hold on. So there's my trekking pole, and it just fits right on top like that. And now, like, if you saw in the video of Mike's video when he was showing me in the morning, I had this sitting up and it was attached to one of the grommets on the alpha tent. And so it was holding the alpha tent up at an angle instead of just laying directly on top of me.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's what I gave 210. So if you're using a hammock and you're trying to figure out a good way to tie out your rain fly so it's laying more flat than instead of coming down, using your trekking pole with this, you can attach it to it. I just attached it this way because I didn't have another carabiner that could go through both the holes.
Yeah.
So I just used again one of those little S beaners to attach it. So, but you know, all sorts of different stuff that you can come up with. I mean, if you can think it, you can print it, as long as you can design it or it's been designed. You know,
I could see
out.
I could see something like that for people that, you know, a lot of these cheaper tents, they have the poles that you can put, you know, to hold an awning out from the tent, and they basically just have a spike that goes up through a grommet, and the spike is exposed. And I could see, you know, like you said, using one of those S rings, 3D print a little bulb to go over the top that has a attachment for the S ring, and you know, really all you got to do is just run your cord through it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and like that took, I think when I printed out 3 or 4 of them, it took like 2 hours. You know, so it doesn't take long time to print some of the stuff. You know, there's a lot of different parameters that you use while printing. How much infill, because you can print a solid piece, or you can have it where there's nothing really on the center. It's just the outer shell. Those aren't obviously going to be strong, but I think that one was printed in like 25% infill. So 75% of the inside of it is air.
right.
You know? But yeah. So another thing I printed too, and I was trying to find my my knife. And Mike, what are those knives that you buy all the time?
Mora.
The Swedish ones, Moras. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So printed this out for it slides on the Mora knife, and I was trying to find mine, but I couldn't. But holds a ferro rod and then a lighter, and so you can put that on there. You can wrap cordage around it as well. So you always have a couple ways to start fire with your knife.
Oh,
so,
that's
and I think
that's certainly nice.
This took less than an hour to print, I think. And it, you know, super lightweight, so having it on your knife is not gonna add weight to your pack or anything like that. So
yeah, and you know, I when you showed that, you know, it kind of made me think, you know, okay, you've got the higher end ones of the Mora knives that you can get that have, you know, of course, the ferro rod with it and things like that. But just a little simple mod there of a 3D print like you have, you know, you just slide that over the sheath, and you got your lighter there, you got a ferro rod there, so you went a step further than what Mora makes theirs to do. and probably at a good fraction of the cost. Don't get mad at
Yeah.
me, Maura. I'm just if you want to sponsor me, then I'll quit saying things like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've also taken a piece of inner tube and put on that Mora sheath and slid a ferro rod or a lighter in there.
Oh, good idea. And also it gives you something for fire tender too.
Yeah, if you know what to do with they call them Ranger bands, but I just call them inner tubes.
Yeah.
And if you cut a piece that's pretty long and slide it up on there, you stretch it out and stick your ferro rod in it or your Bic lighter.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I've actually got some tubing that I could try that. Maybe I'll do that in my next camping video. So we had some more questions here. I wanted to try to address them.
Yep.
See, it looks like Colin had asked that did most of us that, when we had our get together, do we prefer to use more bushcraft setups or use what we had available to us, or we brought all our gear and that was it? And
well, I know one person I think wanted to stay at the Hyatt Regency or something like that because he brought a big tent and a cot and like 4 tables, so he wasn't bushcrafting too much.
You can't see me, but I'm sliding off screen. You didn't get to see the swimming pool and sauna out back, or the hot
no,
tub.
I didn't.
My favorite thing that Dan brought was
hot tub.
Dan brought attic insulation.
Yep.
Now I'll tell you, Dan, I make fun of that a little bit just to poke just to be good natured about it. But we were at a big camp, Adam and I were a few years ago, and a family showed up, and it got colder than anybody expected. And one of the other families had 5 or 10 extra sleeping bags and a tent a lot like yours. And we took the rain fly off and we covered the whole top of that with those sleeping bags and put the rain fly back on. And it changed their whole camping event. It was so much warmer in there because most of those tents are made for summertime.
Yeah.
And Adam and I live in Minnesota, but this happened in Iowa where we were. And even though Iowa is only one state south, it's a lot hotter there. And we've had it really cold there too before, but it's a lot hotter there most of the time. But that night, man, it was down below freezing, and we did that. So that's a cheap mod that you can do on a summer tent, is to even probably a lightweight blanket or something up there would make a big difference in that attic insulation.
Yeah, that's what I put on mine was like I think I want to say that material was a fleece. It's just a little thin gray $10 blanket I think that I got from Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
And it just laid over and covered, I didn't cover all the mesh on top because obviously you want your air circulating so you don't build up all the moisture in there and things like that. So, but yeah, that was a cheap modification that I came up with myself, to keep the heat inside the tent.
So back to Colin's question, I kind of diverted a little bit maybe, but everybody did different things, and that was good. You're talking and I don't hear you.
I'm there.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
I went and got my other phone so I could watch on my other phone, and they're not synced. So everybody did different things, and you can see that in everybody's different videos. So what is a bushcraft setup? I see bushcrafty people sleep in a lot of different configurations. We Adam and I just had the idea that we wanted to do different things each night, and so that was what we were about. And we took a car full of stuff. My baker's tent is a big, takes a pretty good size Rubbermaid tote to house it. But I brought a lot of extra tarps in that box, and we were gonna maybe do some different tarp configurations. We brought stuff to do that we didn't end up doing, but the to set up a tarp, like Randy slept in an open tarp the first night that Adam and I threw up for him quick before he got there, and we put up a ridge line and pulled the tarp over it, and he slept on the ground and said he slept great. And Matt, two guys had a little teepee tent, and then Randy had a great big tent with a hot stove in it, or with a wood stove in it. And 210, boy, Dave really went out on a limb, and he did an unusual thing and slept in a hammock. It's really wild for him. I slept in a hammock 2 of the nights because I wanted to do something different with my baker's tent the second time, but it was going to come a rain, and that I just couldn't imagine that heavy canvas tent soggy taking it home. So
Right.
put that away and went back to the hammock, and I sleep so wonderfully in a hammock when it's raining.
No, in
Teasing
that
David,
baker's
but hammock is my number one.
in the baker's tent, you said you had the hammock. Did you string that between trees, or how did you? I didn't see that.
I didn't have a hammock in the baker tent. Had a
Oh, okay.
cot.
Oh, okay. As I say, if you strung a hammock in there, that was impressive.
No. I have never slept on a cot as far as I can remember. Maybe when I was a kid, I did. We had some old army cots that creaked and pinched your fingers and all that bad stuff. But for this camp in Missouri, when we went down to Missouri, I bought a one Tigris cot, and it folds up to kind of the size of a big lunchbox, and I really enjoyed it. It slept so good, and it's tight. No, it's not squeaky or rickety or anything, and it's a nice one. So I slept really good in that. I'm kind of done sleeping on the ground, I think. I mean, I sleep okay on the ground, but it's just I can't get up. So
Yeah. Well, I've got one of the hammocks that instead of having to put a bar across the end of it, it's got a little lever thing down on the legs that will lock the legs into place so that they can't fold in on you. And
you said hammock, but you meant a cot.
or yeah, cot. I meant yes, correct. So I got that, and originally I was putting an air mattress on top of it, and the whole concept was so that I didn't have to climb up off the floor. And
Yeah.
the older you get, the harder that gets. And I had originally planned to do a video where I was again sleeping on the floor, and you wake up in the morning or whatever, and it's like, oh, my back, ouch, you know. And then I have an idea. And so you pull up the phone and you start doing some punching, and you kind of turn it so that they could see, and it's got Amazon. So you just made an order, but you're still in the tent. And then, a short time lapse, and then you hear a ding dong, and then you open up the tent door, and there's a package out front, and it's the cot. But of course,
Right.
the cot is no longer available. You can't find it anywhere. So it kind of made it a mute point, other
Well,
than being able to be raised up.
does that answer Colin's question? Or
Get back to that question.
is he mad stomping out of the room, or is he good with that?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, I'm printing stuff.
I did actually, I agree with you. We kind of had a little bit of mixtures of things, and bushcrafting is, to me, being out in the wild and making things for yourself to utilize. It's not uh, y- you know, uh, it's not so much a survival thing or a something, you wouldn't spend a lot of time bushcrafting if you were trying to get home in an emergency situation. That's just wasted travel time to build a bushcraft chair or a bushcraft table or something like that. So I wouldn't say that we, bushcrafted a lot of things for our trip. I would say we brought innovative ideas that, everybody had their own techniques, and it was great to see them all. It was like, oh, I like that.
Well, that's what's fun about doing a group camp, is seeing everybody else's approach, techniques, gear, all that.
Yeah. Well, you did the bread at camp, and I love bread. I've always wanted to do it, but I was always, you know, I watch these videos and they say, oh, 3 ingredients. Let's see, flour, water, and an egg, or something like that. And then they add a little sugar, and then they add a little salt, and then they add some yeast. And
Oh,
it's like,
buddy, I gave you Mrs. Simplicity today in that video I sent you.
yeah. But, you know, it was like, wait a minute, you went from 3 ingredients to 7 or 8 at least. And then you're talking about, oh, grease a 5x9 pan, and it's like, wait a minute, I thought we were going to make this Dutch oven. So getting to see you do that was just so inspiring. I got one myself today, so
Yeah.
I'm ready to make some bread. Hey, we just got 210 in here. Good to see you.
Well, welcome, buddy. I've been talking about you.
I've been talking about his bear burrito.
And his trekking pole supports that Adam hooked him up with.
Yeah. Of course, he's in the bear burrito, and I'm in the bear lunchbox.
Yeah. Happy meal.
I'm just glad 210 didn't get eaten while he was sitting on his porta potty out there.
Yeah. Now, I didn't even know he had one up there. You mean to tell me we had to drive 5 miles around the mountain to get to the bathroom, and he had a...
We had to
He
drive
had a
5
bucket
miles
with a
up the road to
pool
pee on a
and an
toilet seat.
enclosure and everything.
We could have peed on a toilet seat a lot closer.
Eh. And I looked at it, that drive around the mountain, it was almost as if you could have parked, right there when you turned down the road that we were on, instead of turning left into it, just kind of go on around to the levee there. And you could have just walked the shoreline and probably made it to the bathrooms faster than you could have driven all the way around the mountain.
That's a practical lesson in being in
definitely.
the Ozarks.
Yeah. But it certainly was beautiful there. And then we did a little bit of bushcrafting there. Unfortunately, and I wished I had gotten the footage, but for some reason, I guess my camera turned off when I thought it was on. But we made the bridge across the creek.
Oh,
Yeah.
the best bushcrafty part was some of you guys bushcrafting your slingshots.
Yeah.
Taking something, and I mean, you might take into the woods, you might take your elastic band, you know, in case you want to eat a
Yeah.
rabbit or something.
This is going to be a little sneak preview here. Going to do my wrap up video for the final making of that slingshot challenge here,
Uh-huh.
but I got some of these in the mail. It's kind of hard to see what they are, which of course you guys could have blank screens. But these are surgical bands. So my brother sent these to me, and they actually seem way more durable than the bands that I ordered on the internet from Amazon. To, I basically ordered it in a 5 inch by 6 foot long roll, so I could cut them to however I want, and that wasn't very durable, considering they say the average shot count that you can get out of a band is probably 150 to 300 shots. I got 3 before a band actually broke.
Did the band break or did it come untied?
The band broke. I thought originally it came untied,
Ooh,
but
wow.
then I looked at it and the band was actually broken.
Dan, I carry those blue bands in my first aid kit.
Yeah, those are the tie-off bands.
Right.
So yeah,
So you could have a not exactly a tourniquet, but kind of.
Hey, Adventures America, welcome for joining us there. Appreciate that. We got 14 watching now. That's awesome. Like I said, I certainly appreciate everybody bearing with us here. We had some technical difficulties and are still experiencing them, but we're making do the best we can, which is exactly some of the things you have to do when you're out in the field and you have to make some modifications to do what you can. I thought of another one that I had. I don't know if you guys got to see it, but I actually had a welcome mat out front of my tent, and it was one of those that's kind of bristly. So I put it right outside the door of my tent. So since I, have a floor in my tent, when I come in, I can scrape off my shoes and not bring in everything from the outdoors into my tent. So
I have one of those in my glamping outfit.
okay, I was glamping. I get it.
David and 210 Outdoors and I both put something under our, and I think Adam had too, something under your hammock to put your feet on. So when
I use my sleeping mat when I slept.
Yeah. So whenever you come out of or you're taking your shoes off to roll into your hammock, it's not a bristly welcome mat, but it's kind of the similar purpose so that you have somewhere to put your feet, put your shoes, keep things in the dry a little bit.
Now I just noticed something here. Woodsman said he really enjoyed the Swedish torch that we did. And that brings up a modification that I brought out there, which was the auger bit with the hand drill.
You weren't supposed to say anything about that.
A brace and bit.
Yeah. So, Adam was working with the auger bit that has the eye hole at the top of it. And then I said, wait a minute, I've got something to make this a whole lot better. And like I said, I've got the auger bit that has the X head on the end of it. then I've got the hand drill that actually you can put those in there and lock them down. And it had probably another at least 3 or 4 inches on the auger bit that you had. So
Yeah.
it's able to go a lot
I
deeper.
wouldn't have made it through the log with mine. It wouldn't have been long enough.
Right.
And we didn't have to do the long tunnel in that log because we bought it that way. It had a rotten inside up the core.
Yeah, we bought it from Joe Squatch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Came with the center hole. That was very nice.
But a lot of times you'll find a hollow log like that. I have several times find a hollow log in the woods, and all you have to do is that side hole. And you can also do that with a saw and cut part way through. You're not going to get as long a burn time, but those things burn pretty long enough for you to cook a meal for sure. Get warm.
Oh yeah.
And then they turn into firewood.
I had actually gotten to see, or the group of us had gotten together previously at a meetup, and we made one there as well. And it was a struggle to get that one going. And I see these videos of the guys that make them is like, oh, drill a hole, stick something, stick a single piece of wood in there and light it, and it'll take off.
Well, that's editing.
It's the magic of YouTube.
Yeah, that's video editing, man.
Yeah.
I've done too much of that. Randy and I did one last year too, and it took a long time to get it going.
Yeah. So I think the misconception that it will light up and burn right away is out the door.
Have you ever made one where you split the log in 4 pieces and put spacers between them and light it that way?
I haven't done that.
I don't think I have either.
I got some wire because I intended on trying it, but just like I said, I haven't done that yet.
I kind of think that would go faster.
I really got to break myself of the habit of using like my knife to pound on and split wood, use wedges and things like that. And so I also started carrying a better axe for splitting. So.
Well, that's another MYOG that I have is I bought a machete. I wanted a machete real bad. And there's a lot of machetes and kukris for sale, and they are $100 or more. And I bought one off of Amazon for it was like $20 and has a plastic handle, or it's not plastic. You're supposed to use some other word. I'm not sure what the other word is.
Polycarbonate.
A polymer handle. And but it was sharpened only on one side because I guess the people in Vietnam or wherever they actually use them, you only need it sharpened on one side. So I ground it and filed on the other side, centered up the blade, and then I sharpened the end of it to kind of be a grubbing instrument to dig a hole with or whatever. But the most fun I have with that machete is banging on it to baton wood like that and flipping pancakes.
Flipping pancakes with your machete.
Yeah.
I like it.
And he does. He uses it as a spatula.
Yeah. And it's not ground sharp, but it's sharp enough to flip an egg or a hamburger or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So I'm going to turn back to the audience here again. You guys got some more questions? Certainly put them up. I'm just kind of perusing back through the comments here. Hopefully, I haven't missed too many questions. I try to get them as I go.
If somebody sees a question that got missed, copy it and put it back at the bottom again.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. That helps us there too.
Another thing I like to do is find stainless steel containers at thrift stores and make cook pots out of them. And I have so many of those because I can't stand to see them sitting at the Salvation Army or the Goodwill. And
Yeah.
So I've gotten, there's stainless steel canister sets. There's specialized coffee cans. There's all kinds of things that you can make a cook pot out of, and it doesn't have to. I don't understand why a cook pot has to cost, $40 and up. It just my wife says all the time, you're supposed to be roughing it. Why does this stuff have to cost so much?
Right.
And we learned from one of our ancient mentors that we're not supposed to be roughing it. We're supposed to be smoothing it, right? I think that's what Nessmuk said. We're out to smooth it, not out to rough it.
Yeah. Well, I just happened to think of another item that you came up with for the Dutch oven was the stand.
Oh, yeah.
That was you didn't have to go out there to one of the manufacturers of Dutch ovens and say, hey, I need something to raise it up. You came up with something. You want to explain what that was?
Yeah, it's a metal, like a wrought iron looking stand, and it came with a wooden fruit bowl and some wooden red apples. And I don't know why I didn't. I kept the wooden bowl and I set all the apples out on the shelf. I hope that the Goodwill people went back and repriced them. I just bought the wooden bowl and the metal stand, and I use those. That wooden bowl is what I use to mix the dough in. And and I'm not sure if it all was supposed to be a set or if somebody just had it stacked that way or something. But I look in the Goodwill stores. I look in the section that has. I have several things and they have like a kind of an iron thing with curly cues and long things, and it holds a like a decorative plate or something like that. And yeah. I've bought several things like that and use those for cooking apparatus. Like the Self-Reliance Outfitters sells something called a squirrel cooker. I won't be eating a squirrel, but the squirrel cooker has a fork on the end and a little shelf to put a steak on or a hamburger or something. And I've made 2 of those out of the $2 or $3 items from a Goodwill. That is am I getting really dark? I noticed the sun's going down.
Yeah,
you are.
Yeah, you're just.
I'm in my car because they're watching a movie inside, and I got in trouble for getting some Purple Rain music on once on a
There
live.
you go. We can see you now.
Is that more better? Okay.
Yeah. You almost look like you're just
Well, you
going
could have
with
just drove over to my house.
Oh, I wish I had, Adam. I just quit working. I worked from about 7 o'clock this morning until, what time did I call you, Dan? 4:35, something?
No, I think it was after 5 because it
was probably
right after.
I worked until 5 something, I think.
Yeah.
No rest for the weary.
Yeah, for sure.
That's okay. I'm thankful for what God gives me.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah, so the Goodwill's got a lot of stuff in there, and I walk in there. I've bought at the Goodwill. I bought my green Coleman sleeping mattress, and I noticed they're for sale on Amazon now for about $60, and I think I gave $6 or $8 for it at a Goodwill, and I've
Yeah,
been using it for 6 years, probably quite a bit, and it's
yeah,
still holding in.
those are definitely good sources for
Yeah.
the things that, I see so many people, you look on Facebook Marketplace and you can definitely spot the Walmart campers, the ones that go to Walmart, they buy a tent, they buy chairs, they buy a big fold out grill that they think they're going to cook over. And, it's just, all this gear. And, they go out one time camping, because everything says it was used once, you know, or still new in the box because they didn't really need it because they got to the campground and it had a grill, uh, things like
Well, they
that.
got to the campground and they went to McDonald's to eat.
Yeah. So you see, they go out and they spend a couple $100 on the gear, and next thing you know, it's for, $50 on the marketplace.
I know a
Well,
lot of us
I had
like
stuff I bought for the trip, and I didn't use, but I'm not selling it, just so you know.
I know a lot of us like oh gosh, his name just Blackie on YouTube, and he just did a video the other day about making a haversack, and I've made a few of those too. and I did it right. I did it the way he told me to do it. Mine's a little more deluxe. I made one for my son, more simple, but mine's got a couple of extra pockets in it and stuff, and I use it regularly for a computer bag for work. But if I go on any other adventure, besides work, I take it on that also. Another simple mod that you asked earlier, what's a simple modification you can do, is if you guys like wax canvas stuff, learn how to wax your own canvas things. And at Adam at that Axeman store is where I bought my little backpack. That's I think it's Czechoslovakian. Well, you can tell I'm from the USSR days or something, but the Czech Republic, I guess, is what it's called. The Czech Army backpack. Yeah, so I bought a Czech backpack. It's made out of linen, and I waxed it. And man, I love that thing for just a day pack. It's got an inside pouch, like to put a sit pad in the back, and then it's got two pouches on the outside. And I changed the buckles, put Fast Tech buckles on instead of the other things, and you can do that on a Molly bag if you have an Alice pack. If you have an Alice pack, you can change the buckles to Fast Tech instead of those difficult to use buckles that come on them.
Yeah.
Everything I touch, I modify in some way. Every can I buy, I find something to do with it.
Well, I think
Mostly start arguments with my wife about why do I keep all that junk.
I think one that impresses me is a YouTuber that I watch, Real Big Monkey. I mean, he makes a lot of his own gear, and he actually, well, he was the inspiration behind the auger bit for drilling to get fatwood. But he actually, I was watching some of his videos, and he talked about repurposing even a bag chair. Take once the little plastic corner pieces break and things like that, you've got poles, you've got kind of a canvasy material, and he was repurposing it and making bags for his stuff, a bag for his pots and pans and things like
Yeah.
that. So
Most people have more. I'm going to say this. I think most people have more money than time. But it is so they'd rather just buy something because they need it right away. And it may be that it may not be that you really have more money than time. It's just that you don't think you have time to fiddle around with trying to figure out how to do something.
right.
And so that my suggestion to you, Dan, about the bread is learn how to make bread in your kitchen at home, and then try to master doing it over a campfire, because that wasn't easy. For me, that wasn't easy. You know, there's 2 batches of bread that were made in that trip. And the first one I would say is a big flop, but you guys were gracious enough to say it tasted good. But it was only about that thick, you know.
I thought it was perfectly fine.
It tasted just good, you know, there wasn't anything wrong with it. But that made me really want to do the second one, because I knew it needed to be lofty and thumpy on the outside, you know.
Yeah.
And it was the second one was crispy and good and was better. But my secret to that, I don't mind sharing, is there's a gal on YouTube, and it's a 10-year-old video, I think, and her name is Jenny Can Cook. And she teaches how to make bread, and while you're waiting for the bread to rise, she teaches a really good lesson about forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because did you watch it today, Dan, by any chance?
I got into it a little bit, and then I got a call from Tyler, who was
Yeah, well, her forgiveness
working
lesson
on his.
isn't how to forgive; it's how to do something where you need forgiveness for something that you do wrong. So I think she's a funny gal, but I learned how to do that in that from her, and then how to cook it outside. I watch Simon, a Bloke in the Woods, and he makes a very
Yeah.
complex, I think, bread. But I learned how to get the baking, I think, from kind of watching him over several years.
Mhm.
And that's where I got the inspiration
Kincaid
for doing a lot of things.
Kincaid Outdoors was asking, did you use self-rising flour instead of all-purpose flour? Or why didn't you use, self-rising flour versus all-purpose flour?
Why did I use that?
Why didn't
Who
you
knows?
use self-rising flour?
Okay, well, I wasn't making bannock. It's a yeast bread. So if you wanted to make bannock or something, you could use self-rising flour and not have to put baking soda in it, or baking powder in it. And I'd actually used bread flour, but it doesn't matter which kind of flour you use really in that recipe. I've done it with all-purpose, I've done it with bread flour, and I've done it with self-rising. But you have to put yeast in it, so it's kind of a moot point to use all-purpose. All-purpose flour has baking powder in it. No, self-rising has baking powder in it. That's the difference. Somewhere we were in another video, somebody I think assumed that it was bannock, and I'm not trying to get credit. I'm just saying it wasn't bannock.
Oh, definitely not bannock. That was primo bread to me.
Well, that last loaf is as good as I've ever had over a campfire. Honestly, anytime I've done it before, I've burned it.
Well, you certainly did it perfect. And I was glad I got to witness it, because I can watch all the videos that, show doing it out of the oven, doing it over a campfire and everything, but I'm really got to see it in person thing. So
Well, you're the only guy that got it on video.
well, I think we all got each person got something that the others didn't get.
Yeah, right.
Video, so.
Right. The baking in a Dutch oven is really what Dutch ovens are kind of all about, I think. Most people try to make chili in them or soup or something like that. And putting water or tomato base anything in a Dutch oven is really hard on it. Especially if you don't clean it up until you like throw it in the pickup and take it home to clean it up.
Yeah.
It's really hard on a Dutch oven, on cast iron.
Right. Because you're basically reintroducing a heavier amount of a water-based liquid into it.
Right, but with chili, for instance, it's the tomato, the acid of the tomato.
Oh yeah, that too.
And
Yeah,
it removes that seasoning. And it's not a big deal if you just do it and eat all the chili and wash it and you're good. You're okay. But what sometimes happens is there's leftovers and it stays in that pot and somebody sits it in the floor of the car.
Yeah.
And then the next morning you're starting to get rusty. So
yeah,
I recommend a stainless steel pot for a pot of chili.
Which we happen to have a friend that just did a video on that in the Pathfinder pot.
Yeah.
So, yeah. 2 guys in the Ozarks.
Yeah, and yeah. Oh, Matt got a lot of views on that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
On his, at least that's his teaser, I think, right?
Yeah, that was his trailer for it, and oh boy, that was a lot of views in like no time at all. So
yeah, he's going to have to go out tomorrow and buy a new hat for his enormous head.
Yeah, that's okay. You know, we're all going to get.
That's I wish him the best. I hope he can find a hat. He deserves a big head about it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, you never know. One of us could just put out a video and boom. And next thing you know, the rest of us are going to be saying, you're the one that's got the big head now. So, and I was pointing at me. So I want to be that person.
Yeah. May you never recover. Right.
Yeah.
Well, you got over 1,000 subscribers now, so.
Yeah, I finally made that mark.
Getting close to the big leagues.
And then, but my watch hours are not as impressive. But, and that was something that I was sitting there and I was cultivating and, basically interacting with other people. And, I put out one or two decent videos, and that's what I was kind of telling them about. That got them to come over. I got subscribers, and then I began to look, and it's like, wait a minute, this says I only have 57 videos. And most people with 1,000 subscribers at where I'm at, they have, 200 or more. And I was like, I'm missing something here. Oh, I need to get content out there so that I do have something for people to watch. So I'm working on it, guys. I really am. This, as a matter of fact, weather for this weekend is supposed to be camping weather. I'll be out there. It's not the Minnesota snow.
Oh, I was kicking myself the other day. It was snowing like crazy, and on a Wednesday, and I was like, "Oh, I need to be out." This is when I could make my viral video in this beautiful snowfall. But I'm gainfully employed. I have to go to work.
Okay, here's something that I just, in talking about that Dutch oven thing here, I saw that Colin, I believe here, mentioned something about they bring canola oil to lightly coat the Dutch oven to protect it. What are your thoughts on it? And they say don't wash it in soapy water, or preferably not in water, because that will cause it to rust. So seasoning, any tips that you just don't see to help keep it in good shape?
Well, are you asking me, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, well, number one for me is I'm not going to make chili in my Dutch oven. That's number one. But I will make a roast. I don't know. It's probably I've bought at the grocery store. Sometimes you can buy a roast, and it's got a couple of potatoes and a couple of carrots and an onion and all that stuff in a package. And I took that out, and um, it was on our men's camp. Adam, we were at Anderson's Crossing campground.
Yeah, I think we're having a little bit of lagging issue again. Just wanted to say, hey, Gunslinger, it's good to see you. Mike, you're
So
on
if you
there
cook
twice. Okay.
what?
Yeah, for some reason you dropped out and it froze, but you came on as a fourth person, so I had you on the screen twice.
Well, I'm not that valuable. So anyway, if you make a roast in it, it's oily and things like that, and all you'd have to do is take the meat out, take the food out, and don't leave the food in there overnight. And
Right.
you probably have enough oil to um in it, and you might have moisture, and I would set it in the fire and let it boil out so that the water will evaporate, and you'll have enough oil in there to just kind of re-season it, make it oily on the inside. Take a rag and wipe the inside. But I don't use canola oil to do it. I use olive oil, or I've been using avocado oil because my family's kind of concerned about a cancer issue, and we found out that avocado oil is really good as a part of your diet to fight cancer, and so we use avocado oil a lot. But whatever kind of oil you want is going to work for the Dutch oven. It's not going to get cancer. Um,
Bacon
unless you
grease.
unless you cook chili in it, it's going to get cancer maybe. So yeah, so if you whatever kind of grease you have, you could certainly. Um, the deal is to dump it out, get it dry, and not throw it in a hot fire, but get it dry, and add a little oil of some kind and wipe it around. But when you get home to store it, I put a handful of paper towels in it, dry paper towels, and I know a lot of people put rice in. If you put a handful of rice in a Dutch oven, that'll absorb a lot of moisture as it's just stored.
Oh, good idea. Because
Um,
as a matter of fact, the one that I got has a bag for it. So
yeah, you bought it. Dan got a killer deal on a Facebook marketplace. A bag and a couple of other accessories, and is it a 12-inch? It's a
yeah.
number. It said number 12. I don't know if that's quarts or inches, but
Well, they said 12-inch. I don't know about it being 12 quart. It's about identical in size to yours.
uh-huh. Yeah, and if it's got a little rust on it, if you're at camp, you take it down by the river and throw a handful of sand in there, and you can use it to scour it up a little bit. And to me, just don't leave leftovers in it, because by morning it'll be rusty.
Right.
But if you bake bread in it, all I did was wipe it out. Had a little flour in it. That's all that was in there.
Now, the parchment paper that you used was the unbleached parchment paper. And
Yeah.
I noticed a comment there about Colin saying that it didn't span their Dutch oven. So did you double it up, or?
Well, what I do is make it twice as long and then twist it a little bit. Instead of folding it directly in half, you twist it a little bit, and then it still kind of holds together rather than having two separate pieces. But yeah, that's what I did.
So kind of like twisting it like you would do a handkerchief to
Yeah, well, like,
tie a sling,
does this make
making it.
sense? Instead of folded like this, I fanned it out a little bit.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I got you. Kind of V shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes it wider.
Right.
And whether it's unbleached or not is not the point, but it's not butcher paper.
Right. Definitely don't want to use a wax paper.
No. No, and a lot of times that when I leave it sticking out the edges of the lid, and that a lot of times that'll just burn off in the
Right.
fire, and it doesn't matter. It's better if it does, kind of.
Yeah, well, that bread sure was good. But here we are again, on a video, talking about food, and I'm hungry again.
I
You guys are gonna get the impression that I stay hungry or something.
I ordered a cup of coffee from inside.
Are you gonna get an Uber delivery?
Well, my favorite son Nate just brought it out to me. If it had been any other son, it would have been my favorite son too.
Let's see. Who can I holler at? I wonder if I could get the dog to bring me something. Have to shake it off. It's a little bit wet. Well,
Here, I'm sitting in my car, and I have this. This is going to be kind of weird to show, but this is a beaver craft wood carving knife that I bought. And if you look on Amazon, a lot of times they have returned items at the bottom.
yeah.
You're looking at it. So I got this knife, and I got a Mora wood carving knife. And I think I paid $5 a piece or something for them. And they were nicked, or somebody did something dumb with them or something.
Yeah.
But I got it, and I made this sheath. I'm not a really good leather worker or anything, but I made this sheath, and I stitched it. And does the light show how straight and nice the stitches are? But I wanted to try some leather working, and so this is a real simple sheath, and I've made a couple of masks for axes, and I keep meaning to make a mask for somebody who shall remain nameless, but I haven't done it yet. But anyway, when you get into making your own gear, you kind of get to the spot where you think you can do anything, including leather work. But man, I'll tell you, everything's on YouTube, and you can learn to do anything
Oh yeah,
if you want to
absolutely.
do it. I know somebody who changed the motor in a Ford Super Duty diesel truck, and somebody who, well, same person, I think, rebuilt the transmission in a pickup truck. just by watching YouTube videos. And I don't know. I don't care about doing that, but it's got to be more technical than leather work. So,
well, we just happen to have a guy in the audience here that's done some leather working. That's
yeah. And
Tyler.
Tyler made I think he made something for his mother or something. That apple thing, was it an apple or a strawberry? Is
Yeah.
Tyler in the
Yeah.
who'd you give that to? Is Tyler in the
He's in the
room?
chat. Yeah.
Who'd you give that to, Tyler? Who was that for? And
We got another question here from Colin about which knife do you prefer to use? You've shown the carving knife and talked about the Moras.
Best knife is the one you got in your pocket.
Yeah.
This is the one I use the most. My Leatherman.
There's Tyler. So you had a video, Tyler, where you made I think it was a strawberry out of leather for somebody. Who was it you made that for, and what was it? Let's see if he's of course there's always a lag between. Okay, did a strawberry pouch for a client customer. So, okay.
Is he a professional Leatherman?
Well,
did he buy a kit? Did he? I mean, that was stained and damped, and
he's got. I think he's got a video where he made armor. So what is the definition of professional as far as when it comes to leatherworking?
Somebody paid him.
Yeah.
Well,
he's been doing it for a year.
Oh yeah.
So
are your stitches this straight, Tyler? I'm proud of my stitches being straight, but I ran out of thread right there, and I've got a big waddy knot right in the middle of it. And my
Mike,
favorite
your lighting
knife
is horrible. I can't see anything.
Oh, you need better lighting.
I know when I've tried to do just simple sewing of
How about that?
Things, I cannot get a straight line for nothing. That is pretty good.
Well, with leather working, there's a little comb looking thing that's got 4 or 5 or 6 points on it, and you tap it in and it gets them uniform spacing. I haven't done it for quite a while, but I've made I've got a meat cleaver. I made a sheath for that, and I've done a few things. My favorite knife is this Leatherman, and I believe in it so much. I carry it with me everywhere I go. This Beavercraft knife is a neck knife I carry in the winter time when I have, and I clip to it my car keys and a lighter and a little bitty bottle of heat alcohol. I use an alcohol stove, and I wear that around my neck. And so it's my favorite knife some of the year. I do one time a year I do a frozen butt hang in Wisconsin, which is a hammock camp. And I have some gear that's just specifically for that time of year, So
well, you when we talked earlier, you had said that you pretty much have MYOG'd, so to speak, made your own gear or whatever of pretty much everything you would need for a camping trip, with the exception of the sleeping bag. Was that
except a sleeping bag. I'd hate to be put to the test on that, but I've got I've got a wooden bowl and a wooden plate that I've carved, and I've got a wooden cup, a kuksa cup. I've got pots that I've made out of something.
Maybe you have to do a video on just using that stuff that you've made.
Yeah, but that never occurred to me, Adam, until Dan asked that question. Have you ever?
Yep.
What was the question you asked, Dan? Have you ever gone out with just your own
Yeah.
MYOG
Well,
gear?
you had said on the call that you had pretty much everything you needed to do a camping trip except for the sleeping bag.
Except a
So,
sleeping bag. Yeah.
and that's what I love about this stuff. You know, when we talk about these things, it's like boom, video idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
Yeah.
Mike, did you make a underquilt for your hammock that you made too?
Yeah, so that's what I said to Dan. I haven't made one, but I've if I change the M in MYOG to modify, I've
Oh,
I took sleeping bags that had their mummy bags, and I put a hole in the foot and stitched it around. And skinny guys like my daughters and my sons sleep in a hammock, and they pull that sleeping bag over, and it does over and under at the same time. I couldn't get in that thing and sleep for anything. I'd be like a banana, you know, but the kids can sleep that way.
yeah. When I kind of really got back into camping, which was probably about 6 years ago, for lack of activities to do here in the cornfield to the left, cornfield to the right. Uh,
Here
I
I
didn't
am
have
stuck in the middle.
I didn't really have a sleeping bag, so I was like, well, I got some blankets. I'll just take those, you know. So yeah, doesn't it would not have been good for low temperatures like you know, our first night there with the group. That was a little on the chilly side, but I had a 0-degree sleeping bag and that was warm. And then that rain the next night, that was a great night of great sleep that night.
Yeah,
except,
it
except
was.
for the purple rain.
I noticed in my video, I wake up and I'm checking the fire, and I'm like, it's 2 a.m. and there's some scuttle going on out there, but I don't know what it is.
I can't
And
believe all of us, of course, we wouldn't have been able to show the footage, but all of us basically could have made a video of some of those nighttime things that happened, and not a one of us turned the camera on.
well, I'm more of a camper than I am of a videographer. And
Yeah.
I think that's the division that a person has to cross over in YouTube.
These guys are posting purple umbrellas with rain on it.
I don't think that most people can appreciate that in the room,
Yeah.
but that was pretty funny.
Yeah, for you
Yeah,
guys that
it's
weren't there, it was so what was it, 2 o'clock in the morning? Somewhere in there?
yeah, yeah.
So 2 o'clock in the morning, and you have to realize that our camp area was on a road that, you know, basically it came in, looped around a small, not a huge loop, but it looped around and went right back out. So we were more, for lack of a better term, dead end road, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And 2 o'clock in the morning, of course, I was the closest to, you know, their first coming to the camp, but you know, I heard some voices first, and then all of a sudden, Purple Rain starts playing, And I'm thinking, you know, what are those guys doing up at 2 o'clock in the morning, blasting the radio? So that was my first thought. And
You
then
thought it
once I
was
looked
Adam,
out,
right?
yeah,
Thought it was me. It's out there dancing.
In a red
but
union suit.
yeah, but yeah, they just, because the road kind of split, half of us were on one side, half on the other. And, they just walked right through the middle on the road around the circle with their music blaring at 2 o'clock in the morning. So that's why we always reference the Purple Rain.
And it was the next day when everybody built a slingshot.
Yeah. Yeah, there would have been and we could have blamed it on.
We did do the hatchet throwing though, or the tomahawk
Oh.
throwing that day.
Yeah, but nobody would have been throwing hatchets. That'd be dangerous.
Yeah, because we weren't dangerous with the slingshots.
We weren't dangerous with the tomahawks either.
Yeah. No, that target had an actual fighting chance to win.
Yeah. Well, there was something that somebody made, make your own gear. Randy made that target for us.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, and I have seen it. I don't know if you guys have it or anybody in our audience there, but we have a farm fleet here in town, and I was in there probably last fall, and they did have the hatchet target. It was about the size that Randy had made his, but I'm sure that it did not, or that Randy's build did not cost as much as the target at Farm Fleet. So
Randy actually researched regulation size and all that.
okay, yeah, because it, like I said, it was about the same size. So the only thing I could conclude was that he did get some specifications for a regulation target.
Well, I'll tell you, everybody can't go camping with us cool dudes, but I encourage you to reach out to each other, people that are close, and try to do a group camp. And what we did, and I think what usually works, is everybody come, each man for himself. You bring your own food and gear and everything, but then you learn to share and you cooperate and get to know each other. And it's been I've done several. Adam's done several like that. Adam and I do a large group camp like that every year. I think is it 11 or 12 years in a row we've done it, and it's different every time. But man, it's great. I encourage you to reach out to people and try to do some collaboration like that and have a good time, YouTube or not, and just have a good time.
Yeah, 210 said we need to do cornhole next time.
So is that going to be a bushcraft cornhole? We'll have to make it while we're out there.
Yeah, each person has to make their own bag.
Bean bags.
I saw somebody the other day that had cornhole for quarters, and it was a small tabletop set.
Oh yeah,
I've never seen that before.
So mine will come looking like a couple of stuffed flower bags that probably are going to go poof when they land. Adam's is going to have laser targeting on it. But I do have an idea It's something that I'm going to do a little more research on, but it's going to quite possibly be the next challenge for everybody. I haven't decided if I want to do it for the next year's meetup or if I want to do it, just go ahead and throw it out there. So we'll see.
Oh, so you're not going to give us a hint on it? You're just going to let us hang?
It'll be something that you got to make with no power tools. It's going to be out of wood. It's not too difficult to make that I can tell. You might have to fine tune it a little bit, but
Are you still changing your name to Cliffhanger Outdoors?
me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not changing my name.
Yeah, you've got to now that you're leaving us on cliffhangers all the time.
There you go. I'll leave them wanting more.
You can't
No,
change his
not
name. You can't even spell hot right.
I will never forget that. So, if you folks are wondering what that means, I got my stickers and I gave the guys, and the first thing out of Mike's mouth was, go ahead, Mike.
No, it wasn't Mike's mouth. It was
no,
Adam's
it was Adam.
mouth.
Adam, yeah. I got it.
You spelled hot wrong.
I'm just a repeater.
So I'll never forget that. I will never forget it. That's for sure. I don't know if that's one of those you had to be there moments, but in all the time that I've had that logo, which has been since 2019, and when you see the chat, you see everybody's logo, and you see some that stand out and some that don't. The number one thing that happened when I came into chat was everybody was going, it's the Reese's Pieces guy. And I'll show you. So, it's small, kind of hard to see. So it looked like a Reese's Pieces.
The funny thing to me about that was when Adam said you spelled hot wrong, you turn around and look at your sticker, see what he's talking about.
Well,
you actually thought you spelled something wrong on it.
Well, here's the thing. When you send away for these things and you have them print up a bunch of stickers, for all you know, they might have started printing them right, and then all of a sudden somebody realized that, I misspelled it, so I was printing hot stickers. Well, we'll just slide him in there and see if he, doesn't even notice it. So I thought for a minute that my sticker said hot on them instead of HTO. So that was brutal. All right, so anybody in the audience there, you got some more questions? Like I said, just go right ahead. I'm sure these guys can probably enlighten you. And while we're waiting for those questions to come up, one of the final questions I had on my list here is, what's a dream camping modification you haven't built yet?
Well, I'm working on, well, not really working on it yet, but an overland trailer. I bought a few years back. I bought an old pickup with a utility box from a city, and started to drive the truck home, and it died. Engine blew up on my way home from buying it from the auction, and so the tow truck guy his son had a F-250, and so he's like, well, what are you going to do with it? And I'm like, well, now that it's not running, you know, I'm thinking of just making a trailer with the box. And so he said, well, I'll make you the trailer if you give me the front end half of it so I can, you know, put parts on my son's truck. So that was 3 years ago. He still got the trailer. So I have to still go pick it up from him. He's got pretty much everything done except the suspension, I guess, was rusted out. So he was nice enough to put new leaf springs and all that stuff in it. And so he's finishing up the one side. And once I get that home, turning that into kind of an overland trailer for camping. So that's my one big camping DIY thing that I haven't done yet that I want to get done. And Mike's pretty much done everything, so I don't think he's got anything to say.
I think the thing I want to do is I've got a base camp place out in the back of my land over there, and I'd like to build a bushcraft camp out there, like I see some guys have done on YouTube, and build 2 beds, build a maybe at a 90 degree or facing each other, build a shelter and have a fire in the middle of it and that kind of thing. I've done a lot of things, but I haven't done everything I want to do.
Yeah, I'd like to build a base camp as well, but there's not much hope of it around this area because, like I said, cornfield to the right, cornfield to the left.
Well, it seems like a lot of people, well, I don't know. A lot of people live in a town and they go camping to get out of town. I think about Virginia Bushcrafter. When he stays at home, he has to kind of huddle up in his little backyard to make a video, and sometimes still turn out to be good videos. And Randy does that. Randy's got a small yard and he has enough room to set his tent up, and it looks like a great time. See a lot of people that do that, and I don't utilize all the land I have available to me just because I have a bunch of acres and I've got a spot back there, and I just feel kind of bad for not utilizing it because I don't have a little tiny backyard. I have a big old backyard. So I should do that. The other thing I want to do is make a wigwam. I'm going to cut down some trees and put them in a circle and bend the trees like in and cover it with a camo tarp. Have a campfire, or not a campfire, but be able to have a small fire in the middle. And I just want to see how that works, you know. But I need to build it close enough to my house that I can walk out there in a few minutes to get in it, rather than it being in the back corner, you know, back 40 somewhere. So I really want to do that too. And I've talked about the last couple of years, and this winter would have been a great winter to do it because we got decent snowfalls and everything, and it would have been, but I have to get our ground freezes. So I have to get those poles driven in the ground before the ground freezes. But I just have never, I know Zach Fowler built a thing like that. He lived in it for a few years and he wrapped it in some kind of quilting material or something, and he had a clear plastic roof on the top. He's in Maine, pretty darn cold. I don't know if it's, I guess it compares pretty close to northern Minnesota.
Right. Yeah.
I'd like to just try it out.
Yeah. Well, I always wanted to, you know, there's kind of a balance between it. I think if I, could do it in the winter time, a camp in the winter time, I would be more comfortable, staying in it then than I would in the summertime because
Uh-huh.
of the tick factor. Ticks just, I mean, I camp all summer long, and that's, I have the tent, so, it's not like I'm worried about if I have an open floor, ticks crawling up to join me. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but a winter camp where, like you said, maybe two lean-to type, or just some kind of a shelter there. But I often wonder, what they say, the smoke follows you wherever you go. So if you put one on each side, one of you is getting the smoke.
Well, yeah, there's some science that goes along with that a guy would have to figure out for sure.
Yeah.
And one of the things is you put a taller wall, like the backstop for the fire. You put a taller wall there, and it has to be taller than um, the shelter walls are, so that because smoke will go straight up the wall.
Okay. Yeah, that's a
And
good.
there's science involved in it, and I don't have it all figured out right now, but um that backstop, people, what do they call it, a fire reflector, it, or
Yeah.
heat reflector, whatever, it doesn't reflect that much heat from the fire. What it the big one of the big benefits of that is it causes the smoke to go straight up along it. So
Right.
there's something about that, and I don't understand it all, but, and the other thing is, white man build big fire, stand way back. If white man builds small fire, you cook, and then you rely on the down sleeping bag, your 0 degree sleeping bag to keep you warm.
With the rope
The other
around it.
thing I have done out here is I built a Morris Kohansky super shelter, and that's one of my biggest beefs with YouTube videos is people use that phrase and then they do whatever they darn well please as long as it's got a plastic cover, and they call that a super shelter. And
Right.
I'm a disciple of Morris Kohansky. I've watched everything he's written, and all the YouTube videos, and as much as I could get my hands on. And he the I did mine, and it was 8 below when I slept out there, and it was 75 degrees in my shelter. And I had all kinds of warm sleeping bags. I had to kick it all off and just sleep with a light blanket.
You know, we we have a guest in the audience that did the. I think he said it. I know it was below zero, but he was in Michigan, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler, he did a survival with a couple of the guys, and I don't know how they did it in that low of temperature.
Well,
I think that they hit temperatures possibly at night that were -20, maybe more colder than that.
yeah,
No,
that
it was Minnesota. Yeah.
Tyler's coldest wherever, whatever it was, he didn't fare that well.
Yeah,
Um,
He still
And
hasn't gotten feeling back in his toes.
yeah, and I don't ascribe to let's see how cold we can get in the 40. I thought he said 54 below or something like that wherever he was.
I don't
And
think
they had a
quite
hot
that
tent
cold.
set up, and so they could keep
Yeah.
their things warm. It was colder than anything I could ever imagine. And that
Yeah.
might be wind chill or feels like temperature or whatever.
Yeah.
But my low point is minus 28, and that's northern Minnesota, northern Michigan is where that happened. And that was pretty
Was that,
doggone cold.
when you say that was your lowest, was that while you were camping or just the lowest temperature exposure?
That's my
you had?
lowest temperature. Minus 28 is my lowest temperature sleeping in a hammock.
Yeah, there he is. He said minus, I think it's 58 real temp and minus 64 feel.
Yeah. See, I told you it was colder than you were saying. It was
Yeah.
cold. I cued in on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know I remember him telling about it. I think their original thoughts were that it was going to hit like the 20s or 30s, but it got
Mm-hmm.
colder than they thought. So
Was that Upper Peninsula, Tyler? Upper Peninsula of Michigan, or was that Minnesota? The thing about the Upper Peninsula of Michigan is the lake up there is so it gets so cold.
okay, so border Canada and Wisconsin.
Oh,
Yeah. I know it was further north than just, most of the major cities.
yeah. Yeah, Wisconsin has temperatures to be respected. That's where I do the frozen butt hang. I've done that 4 or 5 years, and it's been going on for 15 years up there, and that's not too all. It's kind of north in Wisconsin, but it's not all the way north.
Hey, 210, thanks for coming. I appreciate you joining it with us. You have a good night
Have a
and a
good
good
night,
week.
David. Have a good night, David. Hope you feel refreshed after your vacay.
Well, we've made it 2 hours and some 20 minutes approximately. Certainly had some great questions and everything. I know you guys probably have to get up and go to work in the morning. So, and unless you want to hang around and chat a little more, and or if the audience has some more questions, but I just don't, like I said, when you go to visit somebody, you don't want to overstay your welcome, and so I don't know what it is for a live stream or keeping your guests
My limit's
too long.
9:30. So
9:30. There we go.
if we get it pretty well engaged, I might stay past that. But I did have a good cup of coffee.
All right, so everybody go share it out and get 50 people in here, and then we'll get Mike to stay.
I don't know what the numbers are. All I see is a blank screen and a badly lit.
Looks like we got about 9 right now. We were hitting 13, 14, but
Yeah.
and it teetered.
What
Okay,
other tents
so
do you have, Dan?
Adam just
Yeah.
said that the video and audio just cut out. Yeah. There we go. Let's bring him back. Here we go. So, what other tents do I have? So, I do have the 6-person UNP tent, which is very identical to the core tent. And then I also have one that's smaller. That's like it's a dome tent. I think it's a 4-man. You know how those are. They say they're a 4-man, and it's like 2 could sleep comfortably side by side, but anything more is, better than friends. Um, but my
I think,
6-man tent, I do it because you know I like the room.
yeah. Well, you know how there's sleeping bags have a comfort rating here recently?
Yeah,
I think tents should have an intimacy rating.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's like it's a 4-man tent. Just depends on how intimate, or 4-person tent. How intimate are those 4 persons?
Yeah. So, Adam's freezing again. He's blanked out. Might have to contact their technical support and say, "Hey guys, can't do this to me." Again, like I said, it could have been something on the news, or some big event that just all the news agencies are hogging up the bandwidth of the
Yeah.
old interwebs there.
Well, what kind of interesting things do you want to try?
I've I just got a new tarp over Christmas, and it is I believe it's I want to say it's a 20 by 14,
Mm,
and I set them up, with a ridge line, and then I put uh, telescopic poles at each end. So it's just basically like your A-frame style. Uh, but I
oh,
want to play around with a couple of different uh, configurations. Last year I did try putting a center pole to get a higher center point in it, and that
mm-hmm.
was out of necessity because of the rains, you know. But I had a smaller tarp. Now I've got a bigger one, so there's going to be more center sag. So it's gonna be fun to play with that. Because I actually have 2 campsites that I primarily use. And they have 2 trees that are far enough apart that are just about perfect for a hammock setup. And that's typically where I set up my tarp, separate from my tent. So now I want to set it up so that I hang a tarp or a hammock between it
Mm-hmm.
and see how that works out.
Yeah, a lot of times people have a tarp like that size that you're talking about, and they fold part of it under to have a ground sheet. And I
Yeah,
can't bring myself to use my tarp for ground cover.
yeah,
I'm scared to death it's going to get penetrated, and then it's going to basically ruin it.
yeah. But this one I got, uh, most tarps of that size are gonna run like $80 or more. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not talking about your Walmart tarps. I'm talking about, your lighter weight, but yet,
Poly or nylon or something.
yeah, your whatever the ratings are, the 600D 3000 millimeter, whatever,
Yeah,
all
right.
those numbers. But And yeah, I'm like you. I'm afraid to, if I curl that under and then start crawling in on it, that I'm gonna puncture a hole through it. But this one actually, uh, I think I must have just found it at the perfect time, because I couldn't find any more. Because my other one is, I think, 10 by 17, I think, and I wanted one that was a little bit bigger, and I came across this one, and it was like, hey, that's a good price. I think it's even cheaper than the one that I got before. And
Yeah.
then after I got it and I went back out there and looked to see, it had just about doubled in price. So
Was that you that bought a free soldier?
no, it's I think it was Gold Armor, I think was the
Gold armor? Yeah.
brand.
Yeah. Somebody I talked to recently bought a free soldier tarp. I bought a last year. It's been probably a year. I bought a 4 meter by 4 meter DD tarp, and I don't know how. It's about 13 feet or something square. It's huge,
Yeah.
and I'm I'd set up several different shapes and sizes with it. It's enormous.
Yeah. So
So
it's
if you have 17 feet long, is that what you said? It was 17 feet long?
yeah, 17 by 10.
Man, 10 by 17. That's enormous.
Well, this one's 20 by 14.3.
Wow.
So, but one of the things that I also look for, a lot of the tarps will have, tie-offs, you know,
Yeah.
down the sides only, so there are none across the center of it. So like
Uh-huh.
if you do a ridge line and you want your ridge line on the outside, you can run it through those loops, which I kind of prefer that, because it kind of helps keep it from uh, the rains from running down your ridge line and then dripping inside. But you can tie the little piece of string on the end of it, let that
Yeah.
drip. So,
I tried putting the tarp up with those loops once this winter, and um none of my loops, it was just the ridge line wasn't tight. The top of the tarp just had a lot of give in it. I always put the ridge line and then pull the tarp over it so that the that string is a straight tight line. And I know
right.
people always think it's gonna run water in there. I've never had water run in, but I always have something over there to make a drip line.
Yeah.
Um, but I used that 4x4 tarp, and it was about head height, whatever, 5.5 or 6 feet tall, and then I put it sweeped out just enough so that the other ends made doors, and I came in one loop from each end, and so that I was creating doors with it. And I think I'm going to try to make something to put a stove jack in somehow. I'm not going to cut my tarp to put a stove jack in it, but I'm going to make something at the end so that a stovepipe can go out. And I'm going to try to make that a hot tent tarp of some sort. I'm going to try that.
Well, for a little bit of an idea, Adventures with Spackman did a video just here recently where he made a tarp, and he went through all the steps of how he had made it so he could put a stove pipe through it for putting
Oh,
a
really?
hot under it. So maybe that'll be your answer for looking.
Spackman,
If it's
Spackman, you said?
Adventures with Spackman.
Yeah.
See if I can throw the link for him in the chat.
Yeah, I've seen him some. I've never seen anybody do it with a tarp, but when I got that tarp hung over my hammock, I was like, man, if I took my hammock out of here, there's a lot of room in this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was about an 8x10 tent. A guy could go ahead and cut a tarp and put a stove jack in it.
Yeah.
You know, you could do that. But again, I hate to ruin a tarp, but it's not really ruining it if that's how you want to use it. And I think
Right.
that tarp I bought was like $98 for it's, and it's not lightweight or anything, but it's lighter than any tent, probably 2.5 pounds or so. There's no floor.
There's a link for Adventures with Spackman's channel, but he's a very interesting character. He's actually, he does a lot of tent reviews, wood stoves, different things like that. But he just recently did one, like I said, where he cut out a hole and showed how to, you can buy those sheets that you will basically be mounting to it, and then you cut the size of the hole that you're going to need for your pipe to go through it, and he did a good job. I was
Yeah.
pretty impressed. Of
What
course,
what I
I
used
only
in my
shared.
baker's tent was a copper baking sheet, and that turned out to be real good.
Yeah, well, there's a made your own mod there, or
Yeah.
your own gear. But yeah, I think he went to Amazon and got the piece that he had mounted in that.
I have a couple of those. I have a smoky hut, one Tigress smoky hut, and it looks about like what Matt from 210 or Two Guys had. That his is a pre-self, but it's TP tent, and it's about the same as that smoky hut. But when I bought that, it didn't come with a stove jack. You had to buy them separately. I thought that was kind of ridiculous. But anyway, when I got it, I was like, where's the stove jack? There's no stove jack with it, and it says it in the small print, doesn't include it. But it came and it had Velcro around it, and it's kind of a siliconized sheet.
Right.
Anyway, but I have an extra one or two of those because of some other reasons. But you could do that. You could put Velcro on a tarp, sew it on, and put that on, and then the piece that you cut out, you don't cut the top part off, so you can roll it back down and cover up the hole.
Yeah, that's well, what he actually did, he cut the hole out, kept that piece, put Velcro all around the outside, and then Velcro on the bottom of the sheet that he cut off, and that way he was able to roll it up above it, and but he put screws through the Velcro with the nut and washer on the opposite side to because we all know you get that heat going, the glue on the Velcro is just going to be gone in no time at all, and it's going to start slipping. So
you cannot sew the Velcro that has adhesive on it.
Yeah.
That's another story I'll tell you someday. But boy, you get 2 or 3 stitches and it's locked up. It runs it. So
yeah, I've tried it. I know what you mean. And it wasn't with the sewing machine.
No, yeah, I tried it with one of those bulb hand stitcher things, and it still doesn't work. So if you're going to sew Velcro, you have to get the kind that doesn't have the adhesive, and then you can't hold it in position to stitch it. It's tough. It's tough to modify things.
Yeah,
But
Colin
that's a mod I want to do someday. Is take that big tent or that big tarp and make a hot tent scenario out of it.
Yeah, Colin here was saying that he's going to turn his 12-foot round canvas pavilion into a hot tent. Now, I've seen this thing, and the
It's a
setup
round
of it,
canvas. What?
round canvas pavilion.
Oh,
So to me, it reminds me of the old days of, the circus tent you'd set up, and you had the ropes coming off of it with the wooden spikes drove into the ground, and it was quite an ordeal.
And what's the diameter of it? Did he say 12 feet?
That's what he put in the comments there.
Yeah, I can't see the comments. I'm sorry to
Now,
ask dumb
now,
questions.
now he said it's not a circus tent, which it's not. It's what he uses also for he does Renaissance Festival stuff. So it does have a Renaissance look.
Yeah, I have a big bell tent that's a family tent. That's canvas. It's a White Duck is the brand name, and canvas is the best for if you're in a cold spot and you have heat in there. Man, it's the best.
Now, when you guys did let's see, it was 210, Randy, and was that two guys in the Ozarks that did the live stream at the Missouri meetup? And I think was that Randy's tent that he had at our meetup that they were sitting in?
Yeah, that is a Pomali Circle 6 tent.
Yeah, that was actually I mean, when I looked at it on the live stream, it looked huge. And it didn't look near as big when I looked at it at the camp there.
Well, I think there's plenty of room in there for at least two guys with the stove.
Right.
On cots, and if you didn't have the stove in there, you could easily get three. I think it's supposed to be a 6-man tent. It seems the similar size to your.
So it's a 6-man more than friends tent.
Well, if everybody's on a cot, I don't think anybody deserves to have to sleep in a tent with me. And if you snore, nobody deserves to have to listen to that. So that's what keeps me, trying to move a few feet away from everybody else so that they don't think Sasquatch is sawing logs next to their tent.
Well,
and I can attest to
that. Well, you guys did the stealth camping in the hotel.
Yeah, that's right.
No,
we did.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about our father-daughter camping trip where I was not sure what the heck was in those woods. Because it kind of sounded like a sick goose. Yeah, I woke up at, I don't know, it was probably about 1 o'clock in the morning, just hearing this kind of honking sound.
That was a bad dream and snoring at the same time.
Turned out it was Mike. But it sounded like a sick goose.
Yeah, I used to claim that I didn't snore, but when it got to the point that I was waking myself up with the snoring, that's when it was like, hey, okay, I have to concede I do.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about that situation Adam's referring to is we weren't very close. I was pretty far away,
No.
and it's still
Yes,
I still disturbed the whole camp.
yes, Randy, this is still live. We were just talking about your tent.
Randy has a smaller Pamali tent too that would probably be better if you were going to hike any distance, you know, but
Right.
he's got that bigger tent that really makes it nice to do videos and to do live stream and to have space in there and all of that. It's
Right.
his new tent is really a nice setup,
And
and his new stove is beautiful.
yeah. Well, I saw the early videos where he had the first stove that he used in hot tent, and you know that was pretty slick. You know, with the fold out racks on each side of it. But he said he got rid of that, and now he's got a new one. So just when I was, you know, thinking, that looks interesting, I might try to find something like that. Now he's
Well,
on to
Dan, let's
something
get
else.
together one weekend and we'll modify your tent and put a stove jack in it. That'd be fun.
I don't think it would work because it's got a mesh top.
Oh.
Well, then it goes out the wall instead of
That's
the.
easier for the stovepipe to go up.
Yeah.
And on a nylon tent, you just get the stovepipe hot and just keep on pushing through.
Yeah. I did find out that. I did have a, you know, where some critters, bugs, whatever, had chewed through some of the mesh on top, and it was becoming their point of entry. You know, they were marching in, you know, 4 abreast. And,
Well,
and
if you
the
have
way
a tent like yours, I think you could put the, you have to, with a nylon tent like that, with a mesh on the top, I think you put the jack through the wall would be better.
right.
But, and that takes a little bit of doing, but, the way that I would do that is affix that, what I did on my baker's tent I made that tent entirely, but I sewed on the copper baking sheet, and then I cut out the rectangle, and of the fabric after I sewed that on, so it's permanently affixed, and then I have a cover that rolls down over it. The thing about your tent is you've got an overlap from your rain fly, or the top of the shelter, which is actually go out pretty good to protect that hole if you did do it. If you wanted to try that, you have to be careful doing how you run that stove and everything in there. But so that's why you don't want it to be too crowded, against the wall or in a corner or with other people's gear and all that kind of stuff. But your tent's big enough to put heat in there, and there's not a hot tent unless it's canvas that retains any heat anyway.
Right.
Then as that fire goes out, it gets cold.
So, you know, here's an interesting mod, and I'm going to show this, and it's probably going to be backwards, but in case any of you guys didn't know, and you guys can't see this, but let's see. No, it is not backwards. I got it right.
I won't be able to see it for a minute and a half.
I don't know if you guys are looking at the live stream to see what it is.
I can see it. Yeah.
That's for you, Randy. Today is Randy's birthday, so You know, if everybody could wish him a happy birthday, he is certainly an awesome guy that deserves a happy birthday. 17
Yep.
and again, yeah, he's got the energy of a 17-year-old after he climbed that mountain.
And climbing a, yeah,
You say that, but he has to take a nap every
Billy Goat.
afternoon.
Yeah, but wait a minute, he climbed that mountain not once but twice.
Yeah, he did.
I'll kind of leave it
Why
out.
did he have to climb the mountain twice?
I'll leave that up to him if he wants to tell it. I don't want to embarrass him. Then again,
Well, for his birthday, Randy put out a really fun video of camping in a truck.
he did. Yeah, he basically took the conditions that he had and made them into a camp, stealth camp at that.
Yeah. And it's my kind of stealth camp, perfectly legal, completely he had permission from everybody about everything.
Right.
I'm a wussy stealth camper.
Okay, so he admitted it. He left his phone at the top of the mountain. That's why he had to go back up the second time.
So
I'm
he's
just
got,
glad he didn't lose it when he fell on his way down.
Yeah.
He's got the energy of a 17-year-old, but he's got the memory of an older guy that's his age. Forgot
Yeah,
where he left his
because
phone.
I think if it had actually fallen out of his pocket on the way down, you'd have seen 7 guys scouring that hillside. You know,
Mm-hmm.
might have had to call a life support to get me off the mountain, but I'd have been there.
I would have stayed at camp and baked bread for everybody when they got home.
Oh, I would have come down off the mountain then. No life support needed for that. Now
No.
you have to realize, for me to come down off the mountain and say that bread was worth doing it, I didn't say bacon, because bacon is definitely worth it.
Is that your
So if I will do it for your bread too, then you know it was pretty good.
Well, I feel so happy that everybody wanted that bread, honestly, because whenever you do something like that, whenever you do something for other people that camp, sometimes people do it because they like it, and everybody else doesn't necessarily appreciate it as much. And so I'm glad everybody liked that.
I know on my behalf it was appreciated. It seemed to me like everybody else appreciated it.
And the thing I noticed, Dan, I don't mean to call you out, but you weren't as like sharing with your little honey bear.
I offered it to everybody. I did.
I gave you that Irish butter that comes in the green foil wrapper and everything, and I didn't even get any of your honey.
Now I just had a little bottle of honey. You had the glamping butter.
I did have glamping butter, and that butter's probably way more expensive. I don't know, but I got it because it was in a 2-stick package instead of a 4-stick package.
Well, you know, like I was saying, it's getting to the point, the price of eggs, that I was gonna have to go buy some Cadbury eggs instead of real eggs.
Yeah.
I wonder how they would have, you crack them and break them over a skillet, how that would have worked out.
What are those eggs? What are those other eggs that are shaped like an egg, have a chocolate surprise, have a toy surprise inside of them? can't remember what they're called.
Kinder Egg.
Yeah, Kinder. Kinder, is that what it is?
Kinder.
Yeah,
like kindergarten.
I went through the line one day. I was going to bring those home for a bunch of kids, and I bought 10 or 12 of them. Paid no attention to what it cost, and then my wife, I got home. My wife goes, "Do you know what those things cost?" And I was like, "No," and they're like $2.25 a piece or something. I don't know. I didn't pay any attention to it. You slide your card, you don't feel the pain, right?
Well, they keep, like a box of cereal. You notice the height and width of most boxes of cereal hasn't changed much. It's just how thick the box is that changed. And, so they keep shrinking stuff. So I'm waiting for the eggs to eventually be the size of like a quail egg or something. And the growers just saying, deal with it. We can make them faster this way.
Well, that's a lot of fun to get together. I guess I would encourage everybody to modify your own gear, try something, even if it's a small thing, be willing to try it. But bigger deal than that is find some friends to go camp with, because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and even the gear that's not modified, like when it came to making coffee, I heat up a pot of hot water and I got the little instant small package of Folgers, or with Nestle's got some too. But you had French press, you had what was that little pot that had the little spout out the side?
Oh, the Kelly kettle.
No, not the Kelly kettle.
No, the one you made coffee out of.
Oh man, that's my new thing. Yeah. It's an espresso pot. But so Simon, a bloke in the woods, and in a more recent video, I don't know, it's probably a year ago, he set up his baker's tent and he made coffee in this espresso pot, and which is not a new thing. Usually they have a little pitcher on top, but he made one, and all it had is a little spout. And he said he got it from Hungary on an eBay purchase. So I've been watching those for about a year, and they've been real expensive. So I found one that was kind of dirty and needed cleaning up, and got it at a little better price. And that's what he said he did too. Was he got one that needed a little work to clean it up, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was like a year-long adventure of me looking for that online, watching eBay prices and stuff. So, but I had a lot of fun with that. I enjoyed having that. And
Well,
it's an espresso.
it seemed like every time I turned around, you had a different way of making the coffee.
That's me. Yeah. What I typically do is make cowboy coffee.
Yeah.
But for getting ready to go on the frozen butt hang and winter camping, you're using a gas stove, and so you don't want to run the gas stove any longer than you have to. And with cowboy coffee, you have to kind of boil it for a few minutes, 3-4 minutes. I do anyway. And so I want to revert back to using a coffee press. And it was probably 2 years ago, I lost the lid to my coffee press. And Adam heard me belly aching about it because I had a Stanley coffee press, which I like just fine, but no, there's no lid in the world that'll fit it. And so I made one out of Reflectix or something to put a lid on it. So Adam sympathized on me and bought me the Pathfinder coffee press. And so I've been using that for, when did I get that? In January? Oh, there's happy birthday, Randy. I finally see it.
I'm
Got
noticing
it
a
from
trend here. You seem
what?
to have what I might need to get me one of those. You seem to have an Adam that buys you a lot of uh, items for your camping. I need one,
Yeah.
Adam. Are your services available, Adam?
Yes. Yeah,
Uh,
I'll do pretty
Do
much
do
anything.
you adopt?
Need help with something? I've got too many kids. I'm not adding any more right now.
No,
No adoption.
it was worth a shot.
I'll tell you, everybody needs a friend. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I gained some on that trip. I sure did.
Yeah, you did.
Well,
You
I hope
gained
I
two at
did.
least. You gained two at least that are willing to show up for you tonight.
Yeah.
And I think I saw at least 2 or 3 more that were showing up in the room out there.
I think the only one I missed was 2 guys in the Ozarks.
And he happens to work nights. So
Yeah.
I'm sure he's at work.
Yeah, he was live just before. I think he went live at about 5 o'clock, somewhere around
Oh,
there.
really?
Earlier.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, him and Kyle. So.
Well, I'm sorry I missed him, but I wouldn't have had quite enough time to do that anyway, I guess, realistically.
Randy said I'm his new tech guy.
Well, I live by this thing that if a man wants to have friends, he has to show himself to be friendly.
Yeah,
That's a proverb from the Bible. So
I like that. Yeah, you know, like I said, I'll offer any help that I can to you guys. You know, I think I've given you guys some little ideas. You know, especially like for creating some of the thumbnails that I've been seeing come out from you guys here lately. But it's not my creation. It's just the tools. You know, so passing on the tools that I use, just like you guys passed on the knowledge of things that at the meetup that, you know, I won't forget them. I'm gonna make some of my own bread.
yes, you are.
Yeah.
I have all kinds of tips and tricks about that before you do it the first time. I hope I have a conversation with you on the phone.
Well, you know, I was kind of thinking that, you know, the people on YouTube like to see blunders and failures. So if I make my first bread without really like practicing, so to speak, in a nice environment where you got an oven at
That's
the
one
perfect
way to approach
temperature.
it. Yeah.
You know, I mean, look how Randy did it setting up the truck tent. Directions? We
Yeah,
don't need no,
that's all great.
we don't need no
I,
stinking directions.
yeah. Um, when it but by the time you get 3 or 4 hours invested in making bread, by golly, I hope you get to eat a piece of it.
So Colin wanted to know how much you paid for the espresso maker on eBay.
Oh, if I said that out loud, you would judge me, Colin.
Does that
I
does that
let's
does
see.
that
I don't really.
explain why your left arm is kind of shorter than normal?
Uh,
You had to pound of flesh.
a pound of flesh.
Yeah.
Let me think a minute. Um, Let me think a minute. I won't tell you the total price. I'll let you do your own math, but I think it was about I think I made an offer that he accepted for like $23, but then there's shipping, which is about probably about $15 or $17 because it comes from Budapest.
That's
So
actually better than I thought.
23 plus 17. You can, and another one that I have that I bought off eBay is a gigantic one that does like 8. Now an espresso maker will go in cups, but it's really talking about shots, espresso shots, which is tiny cups. And I have one. That one that I have is 4, I think, which makes 1 cup of coffee, in my opinion. But I shared that with Matt, 2 guys in the Ozarks, and afterwards he told me he's not supposed to have that powerful of coffee, on some kind of health thing. But he's like, but it really is good. But it's really strong, and I drink strong coffee. For every cup of coffee I drink is probably, Randy would probably say I can make a pot of coffee out of a cup. But anyway, I have one that's an 8 cup or 8 shots, but I only paid $8 in free shipping for that one, but it didn't come from Budapest.
Well, I know when I saw it, I was like, now wait a minute. I've seen the French press. I've seen, coffee pots, stuff like this. What is this little thing that you've got a spout coming out of it, and then your coffee cup is sitting next to it, and you're filling
Yeah.
up from it? It's like, what is this contraption that I'm unaware of now? So,
Well, I belong to a special religious organization that's called the First Church of the Coffee Snobs.
well, there's
But we're not going to talk
another.
about religion, or we're not going to talk about English. That's what it is.
Yeah, English. Yeah,
No talking about English, and all the comments need to be in religious language.
yeah. Okay, so I got it backwards.
Yeah, that's not the rules. The rules are running across there on that ribbon. Read them for
Yeah,
yourself.
You
yeah,
spelt hot wrong. That's all it is.
yeah. That's what matters. Coffee is a religion. Yeah, yeah.
Are there
Coffee
really
is
14 people in the room still?
I'm showing I think 11, 10 or 11. It fluctuates, but it goes up and down. It goes. I've seen it go up to 14, then back down to 10, 11, and then right back up to 14.
Is there any way of telling if that's on like 14 people and like separate individuals, or if that's 20 separate individuals, or
Um, not really. Uh,
it's just at a time that's how many people?
yeah, it's like the watching now. If I look at who's participating, of course myself, Colin from Kincaid Outdoors, Randy from Ozark's Great Adventures, and Matt from Ozark Woodsman Stories and More. That's what YouTube is telling me are my participants, but I'm seeing more than that.
Well,
So
well, I'll tell you, I don't think I'm the most interesting or smartest person at all, and Adam is certainly not. Um, but I sure enjoy these videos where are these lives where substantive things are talked about
Right.
and people ask questions and there's conversation going on. I don't enjoy shenanigans and malarkey,
Yeah.
where there's just no substance to it. And
Right.
so I appreciate everybody asking questions and interacting in the chat and everything. Though I can't see it,
Yeah.
I know Dan's monitoring it.
Now we have Grace Martin in here as well. She is one of my OGs. You know, she's been around
I'm recognizing her name. Yeah,
my channel for quite a while. Uh, I think probably I came across her from the I think it was probably through Tyler and Colin, and of course
what's wrong? What's wrong
she's
with
been
you, Grace? Are you a slow learner?
she's been a blessing to be around. Yeah.
She hasn't learned her lesson about you yet.
Checks in the mail.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's great. YouTube's a weird thing where you make a different kind of friendship than you would ever do in the real world or whatever.
Well, you know, like for me, where I'm at here in Illinois, and you know, coming here later in life, where you know, I of course, you know, I got my parents here. I've got an uncle and some cousins and their kids around here, but you know, I have nobody that likes to do any of the activities that I like to do in this, you know, state. So it's nice to, you know, be connected to people that are, you know, from different walks of life, different states. You know, I mean, I
Yeah,
know people from different countries. You know, I've gotten, you know, to where, you know, I call these people first name basis. I've got some up in Canada. Uh, Dave from Beasley Ironworks, you know, he's a knife maker and uh, just an awesome all around good guy. And I met him through live streams, you know. So
yeah,
we lost Adam again. He blanked out. But and like I said, getting to meet you guys here lately is, you know, what was it, barely a month from their meetup, Bushcraft meetup that they had,
uh-huh.
and caught them on a live stream, I guess, you know, just from a suggested video or suggested live stream.
Oh
That's how
wow,
I
really?
caught up with them. And, you know, here we are today, you know, multiple videos with each other later, and it's been
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Uh,
That Missouri meetup was going to be in January, and would have been fewer people. Uh,
the the
it got
Bushcraft
post.
one or the
The no, I'm sorry, the one you were at.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
So that,
that one that where there was 7 or 8 of us or whatever.
yeah,
That was going to be in January. Got postponed because I had to do something else, and
right.
then got postponed. And it really was a blessing that it did because more people got involved, and it was the right, yeah, the right thing, right timing, and
Oh yeah.
beautiful spot, beautiful location, great weather, fun activities, and people had time to do some, a few other ideas and stuff. And uh,
And the location,
yeah,
I mean, that couldn't have been any more perfect for all of us. Uh,
right.
and right there, uh, if we do it again and we get the same area or anything, I'm definitely bringing a fishing pole.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure.
Right. Well, fishing was terrible, but getting tangled was really popular.
Those tree bass. Oh man,
Yeah.
those were something else.
Yeah. The another thing kind of in the vein of MYOG is now Matt of Stories and More, Matt,
Yeah.
he's more familiar with that area and everything, but I found that location just searching on Google, and I don't know how I found it, and then I checked with him, and he's like, oh yeah, that would be a great place. And then him and 210 went over there and camped in January, and kind of approved it, sort of. But I don't know how I thought that was going to be a good place, but man, it turned out to be. And I'm no good. I can't say I'm any good at doing that on Google, you know. But
Yeah.
I I,
It,
I think it's worth looking for different sites in different areas and getting better at it, you know. But
it
anyway,
was it
that
was
was a real gamble.
definitely a primo location, you know.
Um,
So
yeah, Matt had been there several times in the past or whatever, but he said he hadn't been there for many years.
yeah.
But
Well,
he's
when
got a
we
crazy
hiked,
story about a ghost fox, and he said that's the location of that story.
yeah, when we went that hike after came, let's see, it wasn't their trip up the mountain, I don't think. I think it was after they went across and were checking out the little cave on the cliff on the other side,
Uh-huh.
and we built the little bridge across the
Bridge.
creek. Yeah. But when we were walking through the woods there, and that's when Matt told me about, back when he had camped before, and he said something about that ghost story, so I did remember that.
It's not a ghost story, it's a ghost fox.
Or ghost fox, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to go back to that location again sometime and take some rappelling gear and build a 2 or 3 rope bridge across something and
And
have some
and
more adventure.
get some of that
Pretty ambitious there, Mike.
purple rain deterrent.
I'm going to wear my Tarzan underpants.
I'm thinking zip line into the water in January.
We might want to go during water moccasin season to be safer.
Yeah, welcome back,
If there's
Tyler.
water in that pool, it'd be deep enough to plunge into.
Is it not very deep? It
Well,
seemed
it
like
is,
it
but
to
I don't
me.
know if it runs that deep all the time or not.
Yeah.
It didn't look that deep when we made the bridge.
Well, there's kind of a little lake right there where at the campsite because I had a bobber with my hook setting about 5 feet deep, trying to get deeper in that pool, and so
What
it was
was
at
that?
least 5 feet.
That was the Norbit. Is that what it was? Norbit Recreation Area
Noblet.
or Noblet?
Noblet.
Yeah.
I don't
Noblet.
ever tell people where I go camping. I want them to get on Google and find their own spots
Yeah.
because it's
Oh,
robbing them of their own reward.
Grace has asked. She she has a great video out. They put a challenge. I think it was Colin from Kincaid Outdoors had a grilled cheese challenge. So she made a video with for the grilled cheese challenge, and she was sitting around, like a campfire, and she had somebody bring her groceries for her grilled cheese challenge. And of course, they came riding up on a riding lawnmower. It was hilarious. So,
I might get into that.
yeah.
Can I do it on a stick stove, Grace? Can I do the challenge on a stick stove? Whose challenge is it, Collins?
Yeah.
I could use my little miniature Japanese cast iron griddle.
That's right. You did mention, you showed that, didn't you?
I showed it to you. I didn't use it at all, but
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I'm going to keep you guys guessing, but I do have a challenge idea in the works. I just want to see, the reason I'm holding off is I want to see if it's just too much work to do it. I'm going to kind of test out.
you haven't done it yet?
No, I have not done it.
Is it
So,
bigger than a bread box?
lengthwise, could be. Height-wise, no.
What's the
Width,
first word?
no. B.
D?
B is in Bravo.
B is in Bravo.
Oh, an arrow.
Nope. Nothing to do with archery.
Okay.
Biscuits.
Nope. It would be something we'd be making out of wood. No power tools.
Okay, well, that sounds fun. It's not biscuits. I've had biscuits that tasted like they were made out of wood.
We might have to make sure that we have a little more distance for our, we had the axe throw. We might need a little more distance for this.
Oh.
A blowgun?
Potentially even more distance than that. And it's not an addle and it's not the sling or anything like that.
Bottle rocket?
Nope.
I've played bottle rocket catch before. That's not that much fun.
I'm trying to think what is the probably the most dominant location in the world that uses it. My guess might be Australia.
Oh, I know it.
Oh, I know
I guess
it is too.
I guess that gave it away.
No, I won't say.
No, I think I gave enough information that now
yeah, that's enough
knows.
information.
You talked about it at the camp out.
But
Yep.
I thought it started with a letter R.
The letter R.
Like rabbit.
Well, that's what you go for. Of course, it's gonna. How would we make a target for that?
You just have a lot of research to do, brother.
Yeah.
You don't need a target. Your target is yourself.
Take off running.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you're not going to have to throw
still.
Anybody that's going to be throwing it my direction, they're not going to have to throw it far.
Well, there you go, giving away more and more. Yeah, well, that's something to look forward to. Can't wait.
What do you think, though? I think everybody knows by now it is, we're talking about a boomerang. So,
I'm gonna see if they sell them online.
no, none of that. You know,
Well,
we're not, we're not gonna, come in and, it's like, oh yeah, I slaved over this for weeks, and then you flip it over and it says made in Australia.
Nah, it'd be made in China.
I could stand
Yeah.
that off.
But I mean, I watched a couple of videos on it where, guys made just a very basic one, and they flattened it out uh, using an axe, and then did a little bit of carving down with a knife, and then it was ready to go. But, you know,
I bet you that took more editing than the Swedish torch.
yeah, I mean, it, for me to start chopping with an axe and get a nice flat surface like that, I would probably have to cut down half the forest in order to, because I would be going through so many of them. Whoops, went too far with it.
I thought you had to have them beveled at certain angles and stuff.
Well, that's if you want to get the full effect of a return. If you're looking at being able to throw it out at say a rabbit or something, it's not coming back if it hits the
So
rabbit.
we're making a stick.
Yeah, well, they call it a rabbit stick, but we're gonna make it into a boomerang.
Yeah. It's a rabbit stick if you win. It's a boomerang if you miss.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Uh,
I guess we could always go down by the pavilions there and have an open area and see who makes the one that actually returns.
In that
so
big
instead of a
parking
rock
lot.
skipping contest, you're hope it comes back to you.
And none of this rock skipping stuff. That was embarrassing.
I
I
wish I had
loved your
brought some Minnesota rocks with me. I could skip a Minnesota rock because they're like round river rock kind of
yeah.
shapes rather than all those that are pointy and square.
You
They don't skip very good.
didn't let me get away with a single uh, skip. So what was it you said, Adam, right away as soon as I made my one? Doesn't it have to technically have more than one hop to be a skip?
Yeah, doesn't it have to bounce? Doesn't it have to bounce to be a skip?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. Grace likes your comment. So we're making a stick?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Yep,
Grace can
Colin.
make a stick too. Grace can make a video of her throwing her rabbit stick.
There you go. There you go.
She can throw.
We got Easter coming up, so everybody go out and get a stick. Go buy a stuffed Easter bunny and throw it at it. Record it.
Grace can throw it at the lawnmower operator.
That's her son-in-law.
Oh, be nice to your son-in-law.
Again, she could throw it at her.
The boomerangs are ambidextrous.
Are they?
Yep.
I've thrown one once. It seems like I had one from a store or something. I bought one of my kids. I mean, a store bought one,
It was called a yo-yo.
Well, I wonder what Prince song that people will come playing walking through camp.
So that was your son, Grace? I thought it was your son-in-law. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to go check out Grace's grilled cheese video. That sounds
Yeah.
interesting.
Yes, it was good. But yeah, I thought, that'd be another thing for us to make. Yeah, because the activities that we had that kept us going, it didn't seem like there was a dull moment around there the whole time, except waiting for
No,
Randy to get back from the second trip up the mountain. No, just kidding.
that wasn't dull.
That was nerve-wracking. I'm sitting there thinking, man, I really don't want to help go up that mountain, but I sure would have.
It looked worse than it really was, probably, right?
I don't know.
I think it was worse than it looked.
I don't know. Well, yeah, you're probably right because, I mean, to me, it looked like about a 45-degree angle. But when I looked back at the video, I could see them going at maybe a 15-20% grade, and then they went on a flat for a little ways, and then they went on a grade again, and then a flat. So, from our perception, it looked like a 45-degree angle, but probably way less than that.
Right.
All right,
Well, I
folks.
think
Well,
10:30 is a pretty good time for me to say goodnight.
yeah, this is the longest live stream I've had, I believe. So,
Well, I hate to
certainly
leave while there's
appreciate.
still a bunch of people in there.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got 7 or 8.
I got a 5-hour drive tomorrow, so fun for me.
Oh, have fun.
Where you going, Adam?
Rochester.
I'm going to Alexandria.
Well, I'm going to Rochester.
I can't carpool with you. Sorry. You could drop me
I'm
off.
going. I'm going to the park to feed the squirrels.
I'll feed the squirrels before I leave the house in the morning.
Oh, we feed them out on. I mean, right outside our kitchen window. There's a little ledge there.
We feed ours
Yeah,
at the kitchen table.
you might as well say it's at the kitchen table. It's right on the other side of the wall. Guys, I certainly appreciate you sharing your knowledge and your inventions and creations and MYOGs and all that. It's absolutely been wonderful.
Oh, appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really a lot of fun.
And then, of course, our audience, appreciate the
Yeah.
questions and participation. It's been absolutely wonderful. I would like to mention Tyler's got a new video out. It's Tyler Woods Camping. He just put a new rooftop stealth camping video out today. And then Randy did his video as well of him stealth camping in the truck. That's Ozark's Great Adventures. So if you guys get a chance, go check them out. I'm sure
And
they'd
2
appreciate
guys
it.
in the Ozarks knows how to make chili
Oh,
today.
yes, his chili and his blow up video, trailer video. That was, and I don't mean blow up trailer, blow up the trailer.
He didn't
It's
blow up a trailer.
it's the trailer for the chili video. So
Everybody
yeah,
blow Randy a kiss for his birthday.
yep. And in conclusion, guys, and you guys can stick around the green room after if you want to, or if you got to get going, I understand. But remember, everybody, be kind to each other and go have a good adventure. Good night, folks.
Yep. Good night.
Night.